I didn't watch the end of it either. I was in bed at like 9:30. I've gone to bed at like 10 o'clock at latest all week. It's very weird. I don't like it.
10 is my
Makes
normal
me feel
bedtime.
like an old man.
Well, I mean, you know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Good morning.
Like it hurts my feelings, but it's fair, you know? And it hurts my feelings a little bit to have to acknowledge that I'm an old grandpa now, all right? That I missed the end of that game last night because Papa Bear went to bed early. It hurts my feelings to have to acknowledge that I'm incapable of making it to the end of a game, which finishes up at 10 p.m., but actually, I didn't finish up at 10 p.m. I finished up closer to 11.
I was going to say, no way that thing
known.
was over at 10 because I went to bed at 10, and it's like, yeah, I'll watch it in the morning, didn't realize it went to overtime, and there's no way I'd have time to watch it in the morning. Should not have went to overtime.
I went to bed. I laid down. The game started at 8. I was awake when it started.
Well, I mean, it's more like 8:20, 8:25. I mean,
whatever it was.
You know, it's if you advertise the game's going to start at 8, start at 8.
No, you got to say in your head coverage starts at 8. That you got to say in your head coverage starts at 8. Game's going to tip closer to 8:20, 8:15, 8:17, whatever. I went to the bed. I laid down. I thought to myself, honestly, and for the record, I said yesterday, Indiana's going to be in this game. I don't know if they're going to be in the rest of the games, but they're going to be in game one. They're going to make it interesting. It's the rest v. rust principle, and I'm going to take I'm going to take rust over rest most of the time. I thought to myself, Indiana's going to be in this game. And so I went to bed a little earlier than normal, but I turned it on in the back room earlier. Yes, I said earlier. I know. I don't know what to tell you. It's early. All right. Let me live. Let me live.
Are you a secret Canadian? I think you might be because a lot of these things that slip through, they sound Canadian.
So I stayed up late so I could come in and talk about this game. I did not stay up late because I'm old. But I did wake up this morning and watch it back. When I was getting ready in the Bro Cave this AM, I clipped it on because I wake up and overnight, as Rob Brown is lost in the land of dreams and imagination, I get push notifications to my phone about games that have ended. For instance, I woke up this morning to find out that, again, the Atlanta Braves got walked off. Again, they get walked off. That's like 47 times this year they've been walked off. And I wake up to see that the Indiana Pacers lost in overtime to the Celtics. And I'm like, all right, well, it must have been a real good game. And then I went into the Bro Cave. And as I am begrudgingly getting ready for work at 4 a.m., I clip on the TV because I record everything from the night before. And I turn it on. I'm like, let me watch like the last 3-4 minutes of this game while I get ready. Pacers, what are we doing? What are we doing? Just unforced turnovers, unforced errors. You can't make mistakes like that in this game. You can't go to Beantown against the 1 seed when they are not in sync, when they do not have the chemistry that you guys have built by playing the last week and a half. You can't go there, have that great of a game, and then dribble the ball off your foot in the fourth quarter. You can't do it. What are we doing?
Yeah, don't call game over till you hear the buzzer sound. And it's at the end, it's like they were getting excited, like, we got this, oh no.
Well, dude, you're up 3. There's 10 seconds and you have the ball. The game should be over. There's no reason if you are up 3 with the ball and there's 10 seconds on the clock, there is no reason you lose that basketball game. None, not at 9, none. There's none, except for they did because Tyrese just dribbled the ball off his foot like he had never dribbled a basketball before. So the ball pops off at foot. It goes out of bounds. Drew Holiday throws one of the most ridiculous inbounds under the basket, parallel to the baseline inbounds. Pascal Siakam has the chance to foul Jaylen Brown before he gets off the 3, but he just blew it. He just missed it. And by the time he was in a position to foul, Jaylen Brown was already in the shooting position. There it is. We're watching the replay right now. By the time he's in a position to foul, Jaylen Brown's already in the position to launch a 3. So you can't foul him there because if he makes it and he gets the 4-point play, he wins on that shot. You have got to know where you are on the basketball floor. This is wildly frustrating to me because I honestly think Rick Carlisle has done a very good job with these Pacers in these playoffs. They put themselves in a position to win it. And they blew it. And there is no other way to describe it. They blew it. That was Indiana's game to win last night. Like I said, I watched till about halftime, and then I drifted off to slumber. And I knew it was going to be a good game. I said yesterday on the show, Indiana's going to be in this game. There was no way. I made money last night because there was no way that Boston minus 9.5 wasn't hitting. No, there was no way it wasn't hitting. Thought this is free money. And I was right. But I wasn't the way I thought I was going to be right. I thought Indiana was going to be in this game. Not only were they in this game, Lonzo said when he walked in the fortress of nerditude this morning, you screwed it up, Indiana. You screwed it. It was you had it. And they did. They did. And here's the problem. If it's the other way around, if the game plays out exactly the same way, but the Pacers are the Celtics and the Celtics are the Pacers, then we come in here and you go, hey, you lost game one, rough loss. But you're fine, right? You're good. You can get that one back. Yeah, you blew it, but you can get that one back. I don't know that the Pacers can get back in it with Boston. Unless Boston, and we talked about this yesterday on and off the air, the great one and I, unless Boston goes in there and just blows it in game two because they live up to the narrative, right? We've talked about the narrative that Boston takes games off, that Boston gets a little lackadaisical, that Boston gets a little overconfident in themselves, that Boston feels themselves and they let their guard down a little bit. And that's why, despite the fact that they have only lost 4 games at home in the regular season this year, I think 5 including the postseason at home this year, that's why Boston keeps getting bumped from the playoffs the last few years.
Wasn't Indy down 0-2 to New York, though?
I thought they split the first one. I could be wrong. Either way, my thoughts got to be here. There's one of two things here for you if you're Boston, great one. It's either last night was the letdown night for Boston. Last night was the lackadaisical night. Last night was the night they were off their guard a little bit, and they still won the game. And if that is the case, right? If that is the case, then they're going to come out and they're going to end up blowing Indiana out of the water, right? No, they were 1-1. The Knicks and Pacers were 1-1 after 2. It went Knicks. No, you're right. It was Knicks 1-2, and then Pacers ran off 4 in a row. Exactly right. Good call.
So they've been in this situation before.
Lonzo, this was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
how am I supposed to remember that?
I know. So they've been in a situation before. So and knowing that you're in this game and should have won the game, I don't think it's going to be disheartening for them. I think if anything, it's something to build on, knowing that this is Boston and they're supposed to run away with this thing, and we should have won that game.
Yeah, but I also think you have 2 things that you had to lean on here. I think number one, you had to lean on you steal home court advantage with that win. You steal home court advantage with that win. You put all the pressure on Boston, and you carry momentum into game 2, and you put Boston on the back heel. Because to me, one of the biggest advantages that Indy had coming into the series, I've said these words a bunch the last 2 days, rest versus rust. There's a philosophy about, is it better or worse to have more time off? Is it better because you get a couple of extra days to get your legs right? You get a couple of extra days of light walk through practice, right? You wear sweatpants and you don't squint so that you have maximum energy available when you get back onto the floor a week and a half later? Or does not playing ball that long rust you a little bit? Do you get some ring rust on you? Does it kind of take away from the flow that you were in? And I'm a believer that rust is real. This is one of the things I've talked about with the Braves the last couple of years going into the postseason. The Braves locking up the division the last couple of years, 2-3 weeks before the season ends, and they basically start just kind of going and playing exhibition games, right? They get into the playoffs, and they get an extra 4 or 5 days off because they're not in the wild card round, And then all of a sudden, here comes Philly, who is fighting their asses off down the stretch. They had to fight through a wild card round. So when they come to Atlanta for the divisional round, they've been playing full speed, full tilt baseball for 5 weeks that the Braves have basically been giving everybody every night off if they needed it because their pinky toe was a little sore or whatever. I kind of feel like that would have been the case for Boston, and Indiana had to take advantage of it, and they did until the last 3.7 seconds of the game.
All right, so these are mini vacations. When you take a vacation in whatever profession you're in, including this one, you come back day one, you're not usually with it. It takes you a day or two to get back into it.
That's the Rust philosophy.
It's the same thing with sports. I mean, they're doing a job. They take a mini vacation. They come back. Takes a little bit to get back into it.
I agree. And that's why that game last night was enormous to me for Indiana. That's why they had to have that win last night. Because now Boston has had that time to get right. I've come back from vacation. And to some degree, you guys may be able to tell the next day on the show because I may not have the same flow that I ordinarily have. Obviously, I am flawless on the radio 9 out of 10 days, 99 out of 100 days. I'm flawless. No mistakes, no mispronunciations, no pregnant pauses. Like, I'm usually flawless on the show. But if I come back from a 2 or 3 or 4 week vacation, because in radio, we get 2, 3, 4 week vacations. When I come back from a long vacation, that next show back, it takes me a minute to kind of get the head in the game. That's what Indy needed to take advantage of from the Celtics last night. And again, they did until the last few seconds of the game when they didn't. If you are going to, in a spot where you've got the 1 seed, the heavy favorites, what did I tell you they were yesterday? Like minus 1,200 to win that series? As Lonzo said, that's a lock, right? That's a Vegas lock. Yes, it is. You had a team minus 1,200 to beat you in this series, beat. If you have the ball with a 3-point lead and 10 seconds left to play, what do? Hang the hell on to it, let them foul you, go to the stripe, knock down your charity efforts, and win the game. Right? This is elementary school level basketball. This is basketball that I should not need to tell my youth kids at the YMCA. If we are up 3 and there are 10 seconds remaining on the clock, what I need you to do is nothing. Inbound the ball. I want 3 of you running from the midcourt back towards the ball, Blue Angel style in 3 different directions. They are going to pick which of you they're going to guard front, which they're going to guard back. Inbounder, when you see the numbers of one of our jerseys, put the basketball in it, and whoever shows the numbers and gets the rock, I want you to wrap that freaking thing up like your Craig Ironhead Hayward. That's a throwback reference. I want you to wrap it up like your Mike freaking Allstott, which I just realized is also a throwback reference. I want you to wrap it up like fill in generic NFL fullback here, because there's like not enough of them. Bring back fullback football.
There's not. There's probably like 5 in the entire league.
Bring back fullback football. Bring back goal line fullback football. Anyway, like that guy, I want you to put that ball in the numbers, 5 points of contact, both arms, wrap it up, and just hang on. There's 10 seconds. There's 10 seconds. That is less time than the half-court count. That is less time than the shot clock. Just wrap it up. That's the opportunity Indy had, and instead, they make an unforced, unnecessary turnover that gives the ball back to Boston. Boston, because it's the playoffs, ends up hitting a game-tying 3. It was just bad basketball by Indiana, which is disappointing because, again, I think the Pacers and I think Rick Carlisle have done an excellent job in these playoffs scheming themselves to a win. Every time a New York Knick went down, the Pacers started to take advantage. You know what they did last night for 99% of the game that I loved? No Porzingis. 39-year-old Al Horford is getting the start for Boston. And again, I got a lot of respect for Al Horford. Al Horford this year, they told the story last night. I had already heard it, but I'm glad they told it last night. At the beginning of this year, Al Horford went to Tatum and Brown and White and Porzingis and the leaders of this team, and he said, look, what's going to be best for this team is if I go to the bench. I'm not going to demand a start. I'm not. I'm going to go to the bench, and you guys call me when you need me. And he did. And then he ended up starting 33 games because of various injuries here and there. So by the time they got to the postseason, Al Horford didn't have to, find himself. He was already in the zone. But what did the Pacers do last night? The Pacers went, this guy can't keep up. He can't keep up with Miles Turner, right? Miles Turner's 25, 26? He can't keep up with him. So what we're going to do is we are going to make sure that we have, because we know that Drew Holiday is going to lock down Tyrese. We're going to make sure that anytime they try to double up on Miles Turner or anytime they try any defensive trickeration, we are going to design, this is what Rick Carlisle did. We're going to design the offense to unswitch when they switch. We're going to design the offense whenever they switch defensive matchups to get a better one from them. We are going to wrap the offense around that and re-switch their switch to get the matchups back with that we want. That's what the Pacers did all night, and it worked. And then in the final 10 seconds, they blew it. But by just playing bad basketball. It's wildly frustrating. They got to win that game. Because now Boston not only gets game 2 at TD Garden, not only gets game 2, but they now have locked in home court advantage even more, and the rust is knocked off. Now they're going to be in flow state when they go in game 2. Here's the good news for Indy. At the earliest, Porzingis will be back game 4. At the earliest, Kristaps comes back game 4. If you're Indy, as far as I'm concerned, great one. If you don't win game 2 and 3, you lose this series. Because when Porzingis comes back, Boston's a different team. So you got to win 2 and 3. You got to be up 2-1 when Porzingis comes up so that you've just got to win 2 out of 4, not 3 out of 4. Or 4 out of 4. So we'll see how it plays out.
Which they've done before. I mean, just don't count them out. I'd take last night as a positive. They should have had it. I don't think that they're going to go the other way and go, man, it's over now. I think they're going to go, yeah, we had this. Let's do it.
Yeah, I agree. The problem is now Boston's back. But you had to take advantage of a team that hadn't played in a week and a half, and you didn't do it. And now they've got a game in hand. That's the problem. It's the old metaphor I've used many times, Lonzo. I know exactly what I got to do to stop a train. I just got to stand on the tracks and push real hard. The knowledge of how to do a thing does not grant you the talent or capability to do that thing. All right, we got to talk a lot more basketball. I told you yesterday I was done talking about Dabo, but so many of you hit me after the show, I may not have a choice again. It's going to be a busy day. Don't go anywhere. Rob Lonzo and you on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. It's going to be a long 4 hours.
Yeah, you got me, Steven. Whatever.
My mouth hurts.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you went to the
Yeah, it sucks a lot.
More rain likely throughout Friday. I'm meteorologist Dale Foster on the Fan Upstate. Currently it's 66 degrees.
You okay?
No, I'm not. To answer your question.
Unless you've got a knowledgeable source to guide you through the process. And that is where Allen Tate Realtors comes in. Allen Tate Realtors are offering a no-cost home physical to homeowners in the Carolinas. Not only will they help you determine your home's value, they'll suggest upgrades and repairs.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with the banner, so I don't know what you're talking about. I think there's something in front of it that's making it look like it's messed up. It's his mic stand.
This?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the banner's fine. Looking at it, it's pristine.
It is.
Except it's next to that orange, but you know.
Are you frustrated because you've been exercising and eating healthy, but you still can't lose
No, that's not real. That cannot be real. Although it is AccuWeather. Oh my gosh. It just sent you something on X.
Okay.
That's video game stuff. Man, what would I do? I mean, this morning I had to slow down for a deer. If I saw that, I don't know.
Let me finish this banner up and then I'll look at it.
It happened in Frankenmuth, Michigan. Hey, I know someone who lives there. I wonder how close they are to Frankenmuth.
Even $100,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt.
This is akin to Twister's cow. No, I think it's the same cow. Except for, would that damage your car? Well, yeah, if you got stuck in it.
So don't feel bad about it. Do something about it. And join the over 300,000 people who worked with accredited debt relief.
I'm really trying to pressure him into looking, even if he's doing other stuff. So I'm just, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Because it will brighten his day. And I just want his day to be better.
My day is fine. My friggin' mouth hurts, dude. This sucks. Because I didn't remember. It's intimidating the first time you're there and you're laid back on a chair like, and dude pulls out a friggin' needle and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. This is gonna suck a lot.
Yeah, that's not something you want to see. I'm also trying to figure out how are they filming. Maybe it's someone in the passenger side filming this. It better not be someone driving. It is Michigan though, so.
Can't wait to hear what's next on Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel. Tell me what's coming up.
We are broadcasting live from Ingles and Greer tomorrow, and it's Diesel's 40th birthday.
Wait a minute, tomorrow, it's today, isn't it? Today is Wednesday, isn't it?
Today is Wednesday.
Yeah.
Turn it on and leave it on.
Afternoons 3 to 7 on the Fan Upstate.
Okay.
No need to check the clock. It's
Rob Brown time, yo.
Down. I don't know if it's coming across the radio in the way that I am talking and sounding this morning, but I don't know if this is a brag or not something I should talk about. I made it to 39 years old before I got my first cavity. 39 years old before I got my first one. Like, I'm impressed by me sometimes. This is one of those things. 39.
I'm impressed by me. So
I'm kind of a big deal. 39 years old, got my first cavity, had yesterday to go in and get a filling put in. And I don't know why in my head I thought they were just going to like slap some silly putty on that thing, you know?
Got you one of them there feelings?
I thought they were just going to take a little piece of Play-Doh, pop it in there, heat it up a minute, right? No. Man, when the old doc leans across the face with a 2-inch long needle and he's like, all right, we're just going to give you a little medicine. I'm like, that's not giving me a little medicine. A little medicine's like a Tylenol, my man. You're about to jab my gums with a serial killer device.
You've never had oral surgery before?
No.
Good for you.
No.
I had wisdom teeth growing in sideways.
I had wisdom teeth.
That impacted everything, and they had to go in and cut it out. It was not fun.
I had wisdom teeth, but I was a youth when it happened. A and B, they went with the gas mask sedation. You know,
I hated that.
I'll take that every time.
Yeah,
over what happened.
I got nauseous after that.
Here's the thing I didn't think about, because when I set the appointment, right, what I should have done is put it on a Friday, but I set it for a Tuesday. So I went in yesterday. I got it done. Y'all, I feel like I got punched in the face, man. I feel like I got punched right in the side of the face, and it hurts, dog. But I'm here playing like a champ.
Did you get punched by Jake Paul or a 57-year-old Mike Tyson?
I feel like I got punched by a 25-year-old Mike Tyson, dude.
Oh, okay.
It is raw, bro. Like, I know I shouldn't be complaining about this on the radio, but I want you all to know the sacrifices that I make for this radio program and for you, the Rob Brown Show Armada. I'm putting it on the line here because I feel like I got jacked in the jaw yesterday, dude.
You should go get like some Orogel or something so you could drool for the entire 4 hours. That would be fun to watch.
For those of you that don't remember, let's flash back to 2020.
Yeah, I'm
was
sorry.
it 2021? I don't remember.
I apologize for now. Okay.
An era in which Rob Brown was struck randomly with a case of Bell's palsy and quite literally did drool on the radio for about a week and a half before I got right.
Your bibs matched everything you were wearing, though, so that was really nice.
That's only kind of a joke, by the way. That's only a little of a joke. Yeah, man, I feel like I got rocked in the noggin yesterday, right in the jaw, and
it'd be sore. Golly. It'd be sore for a couple of days. Yeah, you probably should try to schedule that on a Friday.
Yeah, I know. But in retrospect,
then you would have had to deal with it on Saturday. But
I mean, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. But yeah, this sucks, dude. This sucks. All right.
Did they give you pain meds?
No.
Okay.
They're like, you're going to be sore for a couple of days. I'm like, and what are we going to do about that? They're like, ibuprofen, dude. Like, okay. That's what I did. I went to bed last night and took about 20,000 milligrams of ibuprofen. And oh, by the way, I'm a side sleeper. Okay? Can't sleep on my back. Don't know why. Don't know what happened to me in my childhood. Can't sleep on my back.
For everyone out there who wanted to know, Rob is a side sleeper.
Well, no. Think about it, man. I'm a side sleeper.
No, I get it.
Right? I can't sleep on my back. I can't sleep on my stomach. I got to be on my side, facing one way or the other. And my preferred side is on my right side, which is the side this is on. So last night, I go to bed. It's like 8:30. I go in the back. I turn the game on. The fiance comes to bed a little later. I go to cuddle up and get comfy, and I lay the right side of my face down on the pillow. Nope. Not tonight. Not like that. Absolutely not. She's like, are you okay? No, I am not. No, ma'am. If you need me, I'll be facing the wall on the other side of the room. Anyway, the point is here. I showed up. I'm playing hurt, and I'm doing it for you people. All right? You're welcome. You're welcome. I lay it on the line for the show.
Wow. Thanks. Thank you, Rob. Hashtag thank you, Rob. Get it going, people.
Thank you. I'm adding it to the scroller right now. I'm adding it to the banner right now. It's the banner on the stream is now ending with hashtag thank you, Rob. And by the way,
hopefully the show in the afternoon, hopefully Wire to Wire will pick this up, because if they pick it up too, this will trend worldwide. Hashtag thank you, Rob. It should.
Thank you, Rob. And you're welcome. You're all welcome. All right. We got a lot of stuff to get to today on the show. Here's one that I'm interested in. I'm interested in it. I don't know where it's going to go. There's a technology story in both the NFL and college football. You guys know I love when science and sport meet. I'm a big fan. USC is going to be hiring an IT consultant to travel with the football team throughout this football season. A spokesperson from the school said, quote, we're hiring an IT consultant to travel with a team, somebody with more knowledge about fiber optics and copper in the stadium. The college football operator, as he is referred to by the website that broke this story. Yeah, no, I get it. You think we're nerds. I don't care. This is the future. Get on board or get left behind.
What's this we stuff?
The story here is that this year there is going to be efforts to increase the amount of technology that is used on the sideline for coaches to communicate with each other and with the team. The thought here for USC is that they're going to try a couple more things. One Notre Dame offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrock, who is also going to be utilizing the more direct communication this year, which is a recently approved proposal to allow one player on a team to have direct communication with the coaches. That is back and forth communication. Mike Denbrock said, quote, The kids like it because it keeps me from yelling at everybody because I've got to talk to the quarterback. I think it's got some advantages to it, some quick reminders to the quarterback once you get the play call in, provided I'm not stuttering into the headset too much. I think it helps, especially young quarterbacks, saying, hey, based on game plan, let's keep our eyes on the weak side or whatever it happens to be. Give them a little something to help them in their journey of getting the play executed the right way. I think that's helpful, and I think getting them the play and information as early as you can in the play clock gives them the chance to settle in and get everybody else lined up. So in order to make sure that they are getting the max out of the communication, the helmet-to-helmet communication between players and coaches this year, teams are going to be bringing IT consultants on the road with them. Yeah, why the hell wouldn't you? How do you not do that? Like, how many games have we seen where, like, quarterback takes off the helmet or he's hitting himself? That hurt. He's, like, hitting himself on the side of the helmet. Or he takes off the helmet and the trainer has to run a new helmet out there so he can take the old helmet back and try to get the radio device working and all that. Yeah, it kind of actually is surprising that teams haven't had an IT guy on the sideline. That teams haven't had a guy over there that when something goes wrong, they can grab that helmet and go, oh, you knocked the transmitter loose, or you went from 4.8 gigahertz to 5.2 gigahertz and it blew your signal. Don't worry, coach, I got this figured out. But as we expand tech in the game, as we expand tech and make the game better by doing so, this is the way forward, man. This is the way forward. Have you seen the commercial? I thought this was really entertaining. I'm not saying this is something that should be a proposal for anything else, but have you seen the commercial for the tech company? And I forget who it was, but with the deaf football team, and they're struggling because coach can't get the play calls in, and they're losing. And then they went with this tech team and they built a little, like, Star Trek fold down eyepiece that goes over the quarterback's eye. It's like a heads up display in a video game, but the coach can punch in a button and the play shows up on that eyepiece. And then after the quarterback acknowledges it, it goes away. So it's just a clear piece of glass and he can play through it. And now the coach can get the plays into the quarterback. I looked at that and I'm like, somebody's going to be using that in football, like, soon. Somebody's going to be using these heads up displays real soon. And there is, I think, a line, right? I think there's a line in the sand that even I wouldn't be willing to cross. Like, I don't need AR. I don't need augmented reality up there. I don't need an eyepiece that a quarterback looks through and it highlights the defensive backs. I don't want that. But communication between a coach and a player and a quarterback to be able to get the plays in and out, like, sure, why not? What's it hurt? It makes the game smoother. It makes the game better. Why not? I love that USC's going to have an IT dork on the bus with them moving from game to game. It's pretty spectacular. Do you guys know Lonzo has a clip that says nerd anytime that I get excited about a science and tech story? Yeah, there it is right there. How about that? When we come back here in just a minute. Speaking of technology, another one. The NFL.
This is what I thought you were going to talk about. So, okay.
Well, I wanted to give myself more time for this one because this one is, the last one was just a fun little tech story. This one is one, and this may shock you, I'm actually really excited.
It's going to put people out of work. So he's excited about that.
We'll talk about it when we come back. The NFL's new piece of tech that they're going to test out in the preseason, and I don't even think they should test it. I think they should just implement into the regular season now. I'll tell you what it is when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
You're about to kill some dreams.
All those kids out there who have dreams of being on the chain gang.
Not the kids, the dads who are over there on the sidelines for the Pee Wee game thinking, also known as the Pee Wee game. I don't know why I went.
The Pee Wee game.
The Pee Wee game. I'm like, yeah, anyway.
Pee Wee is what you do when you wake up in the morning.
Pee Wee, who have aspirations, who have goals to go from Pee Wee to high school, from high school to college, from college to pros.
All those dreams of being an NFL chain ganger.
I should be okay with it because those guys probably make more money than me. So
I do not think chain gang guys do. In fact, I think most of those guys are volunteers.
Not in the NFL. No way. All right, now I got to know because, the internet will never steer me wrong.
Also, south on I-385 and I-85, working down vehicle that was in the right lane. Looks like that's on the shoulder. Right now, I'd say we're in great shape. From the News Talk 98.9 WRD Traffic Center, I'm Lloyd Houston on the Fan, upstate.
Tired of being overweight and frustrated with diets that never work? You've probably heard all about the new injectables that are bringing life-changing results for millions. If you've thought about this exciting option, you need to call QC Kinetics today. QC Kinetics Weight Loss Protocol gives you access to these exciting injectables that can deliver remarkable results. The medically trained weight loss professionals at QC Kinetics have a comprehensive program. Includes using semaglutide and tirzepatide injections with in-clinic supervision and personalized care. Stop struggling.
All right, so according to several sources, the NFL chain gangs make $75 to $100 an hour.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
$75 to $100 an hour.
Absolutely not. I'm looking at right now, the Ravens pay the Ravens pay $72 an hour. Most teams pay between $75 to $100, per game, not hour, per game.
Okay, well.
They get paid, most NFL chain games get paid anywhere between $75 to $100 per game.
All right, what's your source?
Sportskeeda. And it is linked to several other sites. Chain gangs are not employed by the league. They're employed by home teams.
Right. Which also make a lot of money.
And they
So
make $75 to $100 a game on average. Which does not shock me. Most people who do things in stadiums get about $100 a game. If you work for the Red Sox, any game you work, if you're a Red Sox employee, like a concession stand worker or whatever, most of those guys, or concession stands are different. Like the hype guys and the cheerleaders and all that, $100 a game. Actually, for the Red Sox, $99 a game. I know that one for a fact. So if I am killing off the dream of making $1,700, nope, because you only work home games, making $700 to $900 a year by giving up all your Sundays plus all the training time, etc.
All right, the Jets chain gang actually makes $150.
Oh, okay. Well, they're on the upper end then.
Other perks: parking, pregame meals, league branded gear.
Oh.
And plus, you get to see the game from the sidelines. Now, of course,
you don't get to enjoy it. You cannot openly show bias on the sideline. You will be removed.
You can cheer in your head. You've been in a bunch of press boxes.
Absolutely. If I can't get tickets, I will absolutely.
And you cheered in your head, I'm sure. Such weird things to argue about, but it's sports. So there.
In preseason games, the NFL this year will be testing a new technology. That new technology is for first downs, line to gain, and to determine if passes will be forward or backwards. It is new tech that is going to be tested in the preseason, and I, my dear friends, am all for it. It is an optical tracking system, and the concept here is that the NFL will use this optical tracking system for line-to-gain rulings. The system had been tried out in a few NFL stadiums this past season, though it was on an largely unannounced and experimental basis. This year, the NFL will actually put it to the test in the preseason in a full preseason trial. If the trial goes well, and according to CBS Sports' Jonathan Jones, if, quote, everyone's on board, end quote. Now, I don't know what that means yet, but if everyone's on board, the tracking system could be implemented full-time as early as this season. Back in March, the NFL's competition committee quietly approved its use across all teams in the preseason, but before the league fully implements it for the full season, it wants to make sure the system works well enough to be trusted, writes Jones. He goes on to say that the chain gang won't exactly become a thing of the past. Sources say the chains will still exist on the sideline, but they will be used predominantly as a backup for game operations and as a reference point for coaches, players, and fans. All game footballs are microchipped and have been for years, but the tech does not employ this chip. Instead, it relies entirely on optical tracking. The system was used at MetLife Stadium and Hard Rock Stadium last year and would need to be installed at all 30 NFL stadiums as well as any international stadiums where NFL games are to be played. But the system is designed, according to the league, to make for a more accurate measuring system that reduces the amount of human error. If the league sees there are problems such as latency issues in the preseason or lag, as us gaming dorks would say, then the move can be tabled until 2025 while the chain crew continues to do their job. So see, Lonzo, I'm not even firing the chain gang. They can still show up and make their $100 a game.
All right. So in more in some places, if you're working in a place where technology is taking over, a robot's taking your job, the first thing they say is, oh, no, we're not replacing you. It's just making it better. And before you know it, you're out there in the unemployment line. I'm thinking of a parody song we're going to do. That's the man not working on the chain.
Oh, that's good. I do like that. I do like that. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
You're putting these guys out of work and you're happy about it.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not putting them out of work. I literally, like the league has already said, we'll keep the chain gangs on the sideline because, and honestly, it's a great reason to do it.
So what are they doing? We're going to keep you on there in reserve. You just stand over there in the corner. If we need you, we might bring you out.
Don't make up your own scenario. No, they literally just said they will still work the game as a reference point, because here's the thing, that tech's not in the head of the coach. He still needs to be able to look across and see the gang and see where the line to gain marker is. It will still be placed at the same yardage. This is just going to be to track exactly where the ball is so that they can know if that line was gained on a close play or not. The chain gang will still be there so that if you're a fan or if you're a coach or you're a wide receiver who's running a 7-yard in on a 8 yards to go, you can look and see exactly what the line to gain is. It's just that if it is a close call, somebody up in New York can take a look at this tech and go, all right, it definitely got there or definitely did not. Removing human error from the game is always a good thing. There is no point it's a bad thing, because the game should be dictated by the athlete's performance, not the ref's whistles. And I say that across every sport. This is not unique to football, basketball, baseball, or anything else. If a pitcher throws a strike, it's a strike. It's a strike to that, but it's not a strike to this one. It's a strike, it's a strike, it's a ball, it's a ball. In football, there is a point where a portion of the body touches the ground and the football is declared dead. And that football is in a space. It is in a physical point in space. And whatever that physical point is, that's where the ball's down. And either the ball carrier did enough to get across the line to gain, or he did not do enough to get the ball across the line to gain. And it should not be up to a subjective call from the referee if it doesn't have to be. It should be, did he do enough to get the first down? Yes or no? Not, well, this ref says over here that it was in. It shouldn't be a conversation, right? It should not be a conversation. Either the ball is down and it got across the line, or the ball is down and it did not get across the line. It is not a gray area. Those are black and white rulings. Either the first baseman had the ball in mitt before the foot touched the bag, or he did not. It is not a gray area. Either the guy traveled or did not. There are always going to be some decisions that it is going to be difficult to not leave up to a referee in real time. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a basketball guy. Basketball, it would, in my opinion, basketball is going to be a very difficult sport to ever implement robo-ref. Going to be tough. But I'll tell you right now, every time I see a game that Scott Foster is working, I want the robo-ref more. Every time that I see a game, what's the other cat's name? Brothers. Every time I see a ref that a game that Tony Brothers is reffing, I want robo-ref more and more because I want to get rid of referees, predominantly the ones that make the game about themselves. The Pellies and the Thunder drew Tony Brothers in game 1. And the deeper we got into that game, the more times Tony Brothers was involved in calls that required him to walk over to NBA ref sideline cam because they give him his own damn close-up on TNT now. To walk over to sideline cam and put his big face into the lens and grab that mic that allows him to talk to the arena and go, I have decided that I'm the most important person here, and I've decided that that's a foul.
Okay, so this was all his idea to do the camera thing and the microphone and everything. So you could put that all on him.
Nope.
He's doing what he's told. And you see the size of camera, anyone's head's gonna look big in that.
I can absolutely say that once they gave him sideline cam, I absolutely believe it's gotten to a point that Scott Foster and Tony Brothers, guys that already made the game about themselves, now they go, wait. I'm in control of the game and I get national television time? Hell yeah. Let's debate all the techs.
So you're not okay with this, but you're okay with the ref saying, giving them the business.
Okay, Ron Cherry is an American icon. Right?
Okay, all right.
Ron Cherry is an American icon and forever will be. Where's my clip? I want my clip. Where's my clip? I can't find it.
I gave you a I did.
It sucks. That's not Ron Cherry.
It's not. That's someone who's unemployed right now.
Dadgummit. All right, well, I'll find it at some point. But the point here is you won't talk smack about Ron Cherry, all right? It's not allowed.
Hot as fish grease, bro.
That's also not it. It's in here somewhere. Anyway, the point here is if I can get rid of spots where a referee's judgment, an umpire's judgment, a linesman's judgment impacts the outcome of the game, I am always going to say yes to that. Because if a pitcher throws a strike, he should get credit for the strike. If a batter has a keen eye and does not bite on the fastball that's an inch off the plate, he should get credit for the free pass. What I don't need is Angel Hernandez out here calling strikes on baseballs that are, and this is true, 6.38 inches outside. If we have the technology to determine that a baseball was 3.38 inches, 6.38 inches. If we can measure where the ball did, or in this case, did not cross the plate, down to the 10th of an inch, down to the 100th of an inch, why is that not the standard? If we have the opportunity to stick a microchip into the nose of the football on both ends and know precisely and exactly where it was on the field of play at the moment that a knee or an elbow or an ass touches the ground, and go, that's where the ball was, precisely down to the 100th of an inch, the ball was right there, and mark that ball on the field and then look and go, that's first down. He earned it. Then he earned it. Or, hey, he was an inch and a half short of the first down. Then he didn't earn it. The defense earned the stop in that case. I do not understand how so many of you are arguing in favor of getting calls wrong, because that's what you're arguing in favor of. You are arguing in favor of calls being wrong, being entertaining. And I don't want calls being wrong. I want calls to be right. And here's a way to do it.
I believe in people. But, as a people's champ, you got to believe in people. You
Alonzo, are people
gotta believe in
perfect?
the people.
Do people make mistakes?
No, but here's the thing. Equipment goes bad. They're testing this for a reason, and we'll see if it makes it out of the testing phase.
We will, and I hope it does. I hope it does. But I'm also going to tell you, much like the last time that the NFL went with the new replay challenge system, for the record, that system worked fine. You know why it didn't pass?
Yeah, I said it.
I
said it would only make a year, and that's it. It only made it a year.
But it didn't pass because it was broken. It didn't pass because it didn't work. It worked just fine. It passed because a bunch of power hungries in stripes down on the field did not like that they weren't the ultimate authority anymore. So they botched it intentionally. How many calls did they make using that system that all of us at home went, well, that's obviously what it is. And then the refs come out and go, after further review, we have decided that that's not a... Yes, it was. We all saw it. We all saw it.
How did the referees hurt you to a degree where you just are anti-referee?
You already know. You already know. You already know. I have been on that warpath ever since that moment.
Wait. Was Beef a referee?
No. Bill, son of a Vinovich, was a referee. That's who it was. All right? Angel Hernandez is a referee. That is an umpire. That's why. These are why all the things. Texter said before long, no refs, all AI, so there is no human error. Good. Do you not?
I like how you say error, because that's exactly what a synthetic being would sound like.
I say error because I want to make sure I'm not saying era. All right? I don't need Taylor Swift out there refereeing. I don't need her in her referee era. Human error is bad. Okay? How many teams have lost games not because they deserve to lose, not because they did something wrong, not because they didn't accomplish a goal, but because a referee decided in the moment, I'm right, no questions asked, and wasn't going to walk it back? I can tell you for a fact, the New Orleans Saints lost the Super Bowl because of it, or at least lost the opportunity to go to a Super Bowl.
You can't say that for a fact.
I can say they lost the chance to go to a Super Bowl because of it, and I will absolutely stand on it that the Saints would have damn sure given the Patriots a better game than the Rams did. But no, Bill Vinovich decided from 50 yards away that the wide receiver did not get hit, even though everyone in America in the moment went, what? You, huh?
I don't think I remember single plays for, what has it been, a decade?
Don't worry. The replay's friggin' everywhere. Just type it in on YouTube. There's a billion videos.
I'm not going looking for it because you're going to bring it up, once a month at least.
At least.
Again,
if you can take subjective calls out to where a guy earned a strike or a batter earned a ball, do it. If you can take a subjective call out as to whether or not the guy was out or safe at first, do it. If you can take it out where a referee goes, yeah, I think the ball was here. I'm going to say it was here. It feels like it was here. And you can just have a system that goes right there. That's where it goes.
You also don't
do it.
You don't like index cards. You're anti-index cards. You're anti-referees.
That's so
you're
freaking
stupid.
Do you remember a great one? Not terribly long ago, there was a Giants-Eagles game. They had to stop the game, an administrative timeout. Do you remember why? Because a chain link broke. We had to stop the game for 15 minutes to fix the chain. What if I told you there's a way that didn't have to happen? You could just go, hey, we're going to keep playing while we get the new chains out here. But we'll let you know.
You could have a backup chain.
It's so dumb. All right. You have an opportunity.
Pretty soon the chain's just going to be a backup because the robots are going to be taking care of it.
Good. I don't need Bill Vinovich's decision to be the final decision if I can just have a computer that goes, beep, first down, boop. Like, great, good, let's do that. I don't think computers beep and boop anymore, but you get the point.
They can if you program them to do that, for sure.
Hey, Siri, was that a first down? Bing. Yes, it was. First down, Panthers.
Good. I guess mine doesn't recognize your voice.
Hey, Siri.
Stop it. It's not.
Damn, I really hope that works.
No, it didn't. It didn't. That's weird.
Texas said if the Saints would have played a little better, that wouldn't have mattered. LOL, JK. I swear to you, Lonzo walked in today. He decided he was going to burn my brownies over there in the Fortress of Nerditude.
Are you just like trying to keep that alive? Is that what you're doing?
Joey's in here on the stream trying to get my grits. All right. I got another texter in here trying to heighten my Hanes. I don't know. I couldn't come up with that H word there.
That sounds sexual. I don't know if I'd have went for that.
Well, I was saying like a wedgie, you know. Like
no, that's not how that sounded.
My texter is giving me an emotional wedgie right now,
okay.
and I don't appreciate it.
All right.
What I do appreciate. Mongo said, "Have you seen Terminator? Because this is how you get Terminators." Oh God,
absolutely. Skynet it's on its way.
Well, you better get rid of your phone, Lonzo, because it's got AI on it right now.
I know.
Right now.
I know.
You better get rid of it.
I'm working with AI.
Break it right now.
With your AI.
Let's go to a sports flash.
Although I don't think AI's mouth would hurt after a dentist. I could be wrong. 2 conferences have reached an agreement to settle the federal antitrust House versus NCAA court case. The ACC and Big 12 both voted to approve the settlement that will pave the way to a new era of college sports. More votes from other conferences are expected over the next 2 days, though there's little chance of opposition. The Atlanta Braves dropped another one, getting walked off by the Cubs in Wrigley in a 4-3 loss. Charlie Morton threw 5 innings, surrendering 2 runs with 1 earned. Atlanta managed just 5 hits, including a 2-run home run from Orlando Arcia. Atlanta is now 27-18 in 6 games behind Philadelphia in the NFL East. Make sure you tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for our brand new local show, Wire to Wire. Cole, Bryson, and Diesel get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate. All Wire to Wire. Still fighting. I'm on the 3rd day of a headache, and it's much better today, but I'm using that as an excuse for what just happened.
Hey, it's Rob Brown. Listen, watching sports just got even better with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. It is the most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players, and it is so easy to do. You pick between 2 to 6 players, pick more or less on their stat projections for the night, and win. You're not playing against other people. You're not up against some sharks in Vegas. It's just you, your knowledge of the game versus the numbers. You've got a chance to win up to 100 times your money. And if that doesn't add a little electricity to the game, I don't know what will. So get the Prize Picks app and get in on the action now. And if you use my last name, Brown, as your code, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. That's code Brown for a $100 first deposit match. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your crawl space and damaging your home. Musty smells, sagging floors, mold are just a few signs your crawl space is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from North Valley Foundation Services. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at fixmyfoundation.com.
For complete rules on contests on this station, go to the fan.
When does Deadpool come out? I don't even know the release date. Is it this week?
I don't think so. It's in June, I believe.
July 26th. My man bought movie tickets a month and a half out. I respect that. No, 2 months out. I respect that.
So did you. You bought tickets to Creed like way out.
That's true. I did.
That
like
week.
6 months out.
Yeah.
I shan't apologize.
atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath.
I mean, I'll try to buy tickets the week of, but I'm not going to buy them that far out because don't know what's going to be going on that week or something. And I think it'd be easier to eat those tickets than it would a concert.
I agree. Concert tickets, I will absolutely buy that far out, but concert tickets are something that go way up on the top of the priority list.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show.
The fan upstate.
Hour number 2 goes now. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the fan upstate. 7:01 in the morning, ladies and gentlemen. You are 59 minutes, or actually 58 minutes and 40 seconds away from being late for work. So, what I would like you to do as you continue to get ready, maybe you got to commute, you're already in the vehicle. I'd like you to go ahead and start planning your day. And I'd like you to plan it around that first break of the day. And when you get to that first break of the day, I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. You're going to walk down the hallway. You're going to go find Jim from IT. IT guys getting a lot of love on the show today, all right? And they deserve it because tech makes the world better. You're going to go find Jim from IT, and you're going to be like, yo, listen, Laura, you know she's going to click on another Trojan virus link in the next, 10 minutes. She can deal with that on her computer. Let's head down. Let's go talk some sports. And you're going to do that. But to do that, you got to know what's going on in the world of sports. And that's where Alonzo and I come in. That's where we come in because we help you every morning at 7 o'clock by getting you set for your day with the water cooler cheat sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying, "Nerd!" Even before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Work.
That was for Jim.
Appreciate Jim's efforts. Thanks to Jim. I don't know why I went with Jim. We have those guys right here. One of them almost a character on the show at this point. All right. Go get Chris from engineering.
How do we know he's not a character in real life? He's an actor. This whole thing could be a role.
It's a work. It's a work. Item number 1 on the water cooler cheat sheet. The Pacers. You had them, Indiana. You had Boston. You had them beat. You could have made Donnie Wahlberg real sad. All right? You could have sent a new kid on the block home sad. But you didn't do it. You blew it. 133-128. The Celtics get the dub in OT. Didn't need to, though. The Pacers up a tray, 10 seconds left to play with the basketball. This is elementary level stuff here, kids. This is elementary level stuff. Just get the ball, hang on, let them foul you, go knock down your free throws and win the freaking basketball game. But that's not what happened. Instead, they got cute. Tyrese dribbled it off his foot. Boston got an opportunity. They took the opportunity. Carpe Threum. They knocked down the tray. They tie the game up. Indiana comes back down the floor, still with the opportunity to win the game. Still with an opportunity to knock down a game winner. Instead, they dribble, for whatever reason, right into the heart of the Boston defense. They put up a desperation 3. It misses, and Boston wins in overtime. Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum led the C's. Tatum had 36. Drew Holiday had 28, 26 for Jaylen Brown, 15 for Derek White on 5 of 13 shooting. Not his best night. Horford had 15 points, but he also chipped in 6 boards. How about Tatum with 36 points, 12 boards and 4 assists on the night. Not a bad score line for a guy who the pressure was going to be on. For the Pacers, they had Tyrese leading all scorers with 25. Pascal Siakam had 24, and you got 23 out of Miles Turner. 15 off the bench for Obi Toppin. Lonzo said it when he walked in the building. I said it to start hour number 1. Zero reason that the Pacers lost this basketball game. They blew it. That's it. And as I talked about earlier, I am concerned because it felt to me like if Indiana wanted a chance in this series, a series in which the C's opened at minus 1,200. Do you understand how ridiculous it is for a team to open a conference finals at minus 1,200 to win? It's minus 1,200 basically says there's really no point in playing this series. And Indiana could have stolen home court last night, but they blew it. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why Boston was minus 1,200. Maybe Vegas saw stuff like this happening. But they had an opportunity to get something special done last night, and they blew it. It is what it is. So the C's up 1-0 in that one. Over in the East. In the West, coming up this evening, Dallas is at Minnesota. That game tips at 8:30 p.m. Minnesota opens at home as a 4.5-point favorite. The over-under in this matchup set at 207.5. If you want to take a look at that one, who you got tonight? Great one. Dallas, Luka on the road. He's had a couple of days to get that knee right. Dallas shocked OKC in the second round, but the Timberwolves right now, man, they're feeling themselves a little bit.
A little worried about this being that Kyrie game that but it's a game 1. I'm going to go with Dallas.
Dallas in the upset on the road in game 1?
Yeah, I think Kyrie may disappear like in game 3.
Kyrie is really interesting to me because he's not, this is going to sound harsh. Kyrie is not the reason that the Mavs have won any game, but he is the reason they've lost a few. Is that fair? I think that's very fair. Kyrie is not the reason they've won any games. That's Luka. But he is the reason they have lost a few when he plays.
It's a guy who shows up, does his job every day. But if he's lacking a little bit one day, you immediately notice, I suppose.
That's accurate and fair, I think.
Kyrie is lunch pail right now for the most part.
When he's on, he absolutely is. You're not wrong. So we'll see. That game tips at 8:30. Game 2 between Indiana and Boston is on Thursday evening. Dallas, Minnesota's game 2 is on Friday. Let's go to item number 2. You know what? I'm making it an item on the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to work. The NFL testing and optical tracking. I'll do a couple of NFL stories here just to level it out a little bit. The NFL testing an optical tracking system for line to gain rulings this preseason, according to Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports. If all goes well, the league will implement the technology this season for the regular season. I don't care. You can boo it. You can call me a nerd. You can call me a dork. I don't care.
I don't want people losing their jobs. I don't.
No one's losing their job. Stop making things up. No one's losing their job. The chain gang will still be on the field making their $79 a game to be out there.
Or $150 if you're in New York.
Well, then, okay. In New York prices, $150 is $17. So it's even worse. It's even worse. The only teams that pay more per game, I have found based on extensive 2 minutes of research during the last break, teams that play outside in the cold. Kansas City, Buffalo, the Jets and the Giants, etc. And most of those play upwards of like $95 a game to be on the chain gang. And here's the thing, just so we're clear. The optical technology going into place will not replace the chain gangs. The chain gang will stay. I'm not calling for anybody's job. I'm not asking for anybody to be removed from the field. The chain gang will still exist. They will serve as a reference point for fans, players, and coaches to know exactly where the down and distance is.
Yeah, your tone was really a caring tone. It really was. There was warmth. I felt it from over here.
If it makes you feel better, I'd rather the chain gang keep their job than Bill Vinovich. Just in case I haven't made that clear over the past, I don't know, forever. Just so we're very clear. Second story out of the NFL that is part of item number 2 is that the NFL, as it continues to look ahead to the future of the league, more and more international games are becoming the norm. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we may flip this thing on its head. See, because right now we've got games in London and Germany, Deutschland, France, Lyon, probably going to get a game in the near future. They've showed that they're an incredible sports city. All those games are just enough ahead of us that you can tip them off as an evening game there, and it works, or an afternoon game there, and it works out to be an 8 to 8:30 to 9 a.m. game here. The next country that the United States-based National Football League is looking at hosting a game, great one, is Australia. Going down under, mate. Putting another shrimp on the bottom. Okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I got a pretty good crocodile hunter when I'm in the zone. But the point is, Australia could be getting a game. I don't know. Hey, Siri. Dang it. I really hope she was going to
respond. It's not going to work. What's the equivalent of whatever phone that is that you have?
On mine, it depends on what extension of the AI you're looking forward to. The regular one is just called Google Assistant. She doesn't really have a name.
So you would say, hey, Google Assistant.
No, I would say, hey, Google, what time is it in Sydney, Australia? And she would say it's 9:11 p.m. in Sydney, Australia.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So the point here is, it is 7 o'clock in the morning here. That means it's 9 o'clock in the evening in Sydney, Australia, which means if you did a 7 o'clock game there, it would be 5 o'clock in the morning here. If you did a noon game there, it would be what they are 14 hours ahead of us.
Yes.
So if you did a noon game there, it'd be like 11 o'clock at night here. Point is, if you put, I don't know how numbers work. If you put a game in Australia, effectively, no matter what part of the daytime you play it in there, it is going to be played outside of anything close to normal viewing hours here. It would be the first country that they would probably still put it on TV, but it would be the first country where we would know the score of the game, and then they would have to replay the game the next day. It'd be kind of like watching the Olympics when the Olympics are on the other side of the world.
Tape delayed. Yeah, I get it.
I am good with international games because I think it is inevitable that the NFL is going international.
Like their game would be like happening tomorrow, but will be today. So,
how does time work, bro?
I don't know.
It's tomorrow. Well, if it's tomorrow, how come they don't call us and tell us what happened? How come they didn't call me and tell me my rent was going to be late? If it's tomorrow, they would have already known, right?
Should have paid that early.
Bro. Joey just texted and said, okay, watched the play a few times and finally figured out why it was not PI. No, you haven't, Joey, because it was. You haven't figured that out because it is. And it was, and it forever shall be. Not another word. Not another word. Joey, you're better than this, Joey. You're a better person than this, Joey, and you know it. Don't be that guy.
Take advantage of him. He's injured. Keep it going,
dude,
Joe.
It sucks, bro. It hurts. Hashtag thank you, Rog. Spartanburg J did text hashtag thank you, Rob, to the show. So go ahead. Let's get that trending worldwide. Smash that like and subscribe button. Smash that follow button. Turn the bell on for notification, and make sure in your social media you drop hashtag thank you, Rob.
The perseverance that I'm witnessing it's groundbreaking for me in my life.
It's like Jordan in the hangover game. I mean the flu game. You know? It's just who I am. You are
so no one else in the building would be here after that.
Let's go to item number 3 on the water cooler cheat sheet. 2 conferences have now voted to approve the NCAA settlement in the House v. NCAA case yesterday. Both the Atlantic Coast Conference and the Big 12 voted to formalize their agreement to the agreement. Those votes have formalized. It sets underway the path to the new era of college sports. There will be 4 more votes this week, 3 more from the remaining Power 5 leagues. I say Power 5 because the Pac-12 is operating for legal purposes in this lawsuit, is operating as the entity that it was when the lawsuit was filed. So the USC, UCLA, all of those schools in this lawsuit are operating still as the Pac-12, despite the fact that they are not that anymore. They will vote on it, as will the SEC and the Big Ten. The ACC and the Big 12 have already approved it. There will also be a vote to approve from the NCAA Board of Governors. The very popular assumption here is that this settlement will be approved overall, and the money, the $2.7 billion that is due over 10 years to settle two former athletes, the settlement will come out of the operating budgets of schools. Now, there is an element to this that I am very intrigued in. And in fact, I am working on tomorrow having a guest to join us to talk about this. One thing that I did not consider, and maybe this is going to be on me, or maybe it's something that we go, hey, sometimes the whole has to suffer. FCS schools are also going to be contributing towards the settlement. There was an the commission of the Big Sky Conference yesterday said it kind of sucks. I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say it this way. But he said it kind of sucks that I'm sitting here trying to figure out how I'm going to handle a 10% cut to my budget to pay back athletes that did not play in the FCS, because we're not going to have a ton of NIL stuff, right? So all this money is going to athletes that played at the upper echelon of college football, college sports, and I've got to operate at a 10% budget decrease here in order to cover for those schools. While the Big Ten and the SEC and these major power conferences are all setting themselves up for $100+ billion television contracts down the line. I don't get that. I don't get that. That's not helping. It's not happening to me, and it's not helping me at all. And that's a very interesting angle that I did not consider. What about the FCS schools? So we'll talk about that later on in the week, because I do think it is interesting. And finally, while that was item number 3, I'm going to add the bonus item number 4. We're not going to get deep into it, because we're going to talk about it in the next segment, and that is the lawsuit filed by Georgia quarterback Jaden Rashada, who yesterday, and this broke during the show, so I feel like we kind of missed it because it broke right at the end of the show, so we get our chance to talk about it today. Jaden Rashada is suing the University of Florida and Florida head football coach Billy Napier over that $13.85 million NIL deal that fell through when he committed to the University of Florida. And here's the fun part. Jaden Rashada said that Kirby Smart gave him the old thumbs up to go ahead with this lawsuit during football season. Nobody else finds that incredible? That a rival coach told his player, yeah, why don't you go ahead and sue our biggest rival for $13.85 million? That sounds good. I like that. We'll talk about this lawsuit, what it means for the future of college football. And I said yesterday on the show, I don't want to talk about Dabo anymore. And then I got a bunch of stuff after the show that's going to make me. So we'll get to that to end this hour. It's all coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I just remembered I have ibuprofen on my desk. I'm going to go get it because this sucks.
Rob will be back in 45 seconds.
wanted to explore new possibilities for their website, they turned to AmericanEagle.com. AmericanEagle.com re-architected P.F. Chang's website, integrating multiple third-party systems to create a unified digital experience. The results? Improved page speed and performance, personalized content based on users' location, intuitive online ordering, an increase in organic search visibility, and a 40% increase in new users. For scratch-made Asian cuisine, visit your local P.F. Chang's or go to pfchangs.com for website design, development.
So I'll bring us back on the stream for this. Oh, we're on the stream.
I bet the loop is off.
I bet it is. David Newton, who is the ESPN beat writer for Carolina, tweeted Bruce Young in a tweet. He was like, Bruce Young update from camp or whatever. And so now on Reddit, everyone just calls him Bruce. And I'm like, oh, I'm a trendsetter. I screwed that up first, David. I created the reality in my head that David Newton honestly thinks his name is Bruce Young.
We'll see how he plays. If he plays better this year, he's Bruce. Bryce got cut.
Total Wine and More. So many bottles at the lowest prices in 30 years. It's easy to find your favorite Cabernet or a new single barrel bourbon to try. Find what you love and love what you find. Total Wine and More. Spirits sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly. 21. Can't wait to hear what's next on Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel.
Tell me what's coming up. We are broadcasting live from Eagles in Greer tomorrow, and it's Diesel's 40th birthday. What scares him the most about turning 40? What can Cole say to convince me to watch the NBA Conference Finals? And did South Carolina baseball get off on the right foot or the wrong foot? All coming up on the very next Wire to Wire.
Diesel and Cole Bryson really bring it on Wire to Wire.
I turn it on and leave it on.
Afternoons 3 to 7 on the fan.
Have you tried? Rob gave you
New life in the next break.
Okay, new life in the next break. Have you tried the caffeinated ice drinks? No, like these, but caffeinated? Your boy's in. Where do I get? I love these. Anybody but me find the fact that a NCAA college football quarterback is actively suing the active head coach of a rival SEC school? Is that funny as hell to anybody but me? Because I'm all in on. I'm going to be watching this like my favorite new episode of Law and Order. I am so tuned into this story. If you didn't hear it yet, if you've been under a rock for the last day, Georgia quarterback Jaden Rashada. You will remember Rashada. He first broke onto the scene a couple of years back because he was working towards becoming the new starting quarterback under the University of Florida's Billy Napier and had reportedly been offered an NIL deal of $13.85 million. Oh, are we bringing it back? I think we bring it back. No, see, this isn't CSI, though. Like, the Ann Arbor thing was CSI because we were dialing into, like, video evidence and cameras and behind-the-scenes transactions and whatnot. This is just straight-up legal.
We could have that stuff.
This is, I guess there are some law and order. I think it's Law and Order Gainesville now.
Because you got to have some evidence and all that kind of things. I mean, you have some reenactments with some handshakes and things like that. Yeah,
Hey, Google, remind me tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. to bring the blenders to the studio. We're bringing back the glasses, kids. Thanks, Google. You're the best. We're going Law and Order Gainesville.
Australian?
Yeah, she is Australian, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, she is Australian.
Mine's Irish.
That accent's hot. So is Ireland.
Yeah, it is.
I switch back and forth. I've also made a French a few times. Can't go wrong with that.
South African's pretty good, too.
Yeah. So, on tomorrow's episode of Law and Order.
We hear American accents all the time, okay?
I'll tell you what. You give me a good Southern girl accent, right over the edge. All right? It is what it is. So, Jaden Rashada had an agreement, allegedly, for $13.85 million worth of NIL to go play at the University of Florida. He got there, he did his visit, he was ready to sign, and then the NIL collective went, actually, our bad. We forgot to have $13.85 million to pay you over a 4-year contract period to come play and play football. And so Jaden Rashada said, well, then, that I'm out. And he went to Arizona State. He then transferred to Georgia, where I'm willing to bet they're probably going to have some NIL contracts available for him. Well, since none of those are likely to be to the tune of $13.85 million, Jaden Rashada has filed that lawsuit against Billy Napier, against the University of Florida, and against a top Gator booster, Hugh Hathcock.
Oh, no. I mean, you're taking on Hugh Hathcock. You better. There was a joke there. I'm not doing that.
I want you to know.
Go in fully loaded.
I spun all the jokes through my head and could not land on one that I trusted myself to censor myself. You're welcome, Lonzo. You're welcome. He's also suing former Florida staffer Marcus Castro Walker over the deal as well. The lawsuit, of course, features the unprecedented action of an active SEC quarterback suing a sitting rival head coach. It is the most notable NIL-related lawsuit to date. Of course, Rashada a couple of years ago kind of became the face of what the chaotic nature of early NIL was going to shape up to be. The complaint filed in the Pensacola Division of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Florida details a number of counts alleging Napier, Hathcock, and others fraudulently induced Rashada, then a highly regarded high school quarterback prospect, to attend Florida with no intention on following through on the financial promises. Specifically, the lawsuit claims fraudulent misrepresentation and inducement, aiding and abetting fraud, civil conspiracy to commit fraud, negligent misrepresentation, tortious. It's tort law, so I'm going to say tortious. Interference with a business relationship or contract, and aiding and abetting tortious interference.
So you're actually reading tortious.
Tortious.
It sounds like tortious. Also sounds like a turtle, but it could be probably not a turtle.
The lawsuit says,
all right, I know it was dumb. He's coughing. I was trying to cover.
He was covering, and I appreciated it. The lawsuit says Hathcock, on behalf of himself and Velocity Automotive, it's Bob's Used Cars.
Uh-oh.
I told you it was always coming. Hathcock's Bob's Used Cars. Castro Walker and Coach Napier orchestrated and executed a fraud upon Jaden and were substantially and knowingly assisted by one another in carrying out the fraud. Each of their individual schemes would not have succeeded without assistance from one another. So basically, what is being claimed here by Rashada and well-known Houston attorney Rusty Hardin. We all remember Rusty Hardin, don't we?
We do.
Rusty Hardin has represented Roger Clemens. He has represented Adrian Peterson. He was also involved in the Deshaun Watson situation. He represented the clients that were going after Deshaun Watson that ultimately got him sent up to Cleveland. He has taken on this case for Jaden Rashada.
By the way, really quick, tortious interference is a common law tort allowing a claim for damages against a defendant who wrongfully interferes with the plaintiff's contractual or business relationships.
We all learned something new today. We'll all forget it by the end of this segment, but we know it right now.
But you'll remember the word tortious.
Probably. At the crux of the argument are the actions of Napier, Hathcock, and his company Velocity Automotive, as well as Castro Walker, convincing Rashada to eschew a previously agreed upon $9.5 million NIL deal to attend Miami in favor of Florida. Rashada had committed to play football at Miami in June of 22 under the terms of that deal, but the lawsuit alleges that Florida employees and boosters never backed off in their pursuit of the talented Pittsburgh, California native. It includes allegations that Hathcock told Rashada, quote, whatever Jaden needed to come to UF, Hathcock would make happen. It also alleges his father, Harlem Rashada, was told he could get a job in the security industry during a recruiting visit. Direct contact with a recruit during an on-campus visit by a booster is against NCAA rules. So why is this a big deal? Aside from the lawsuit itself and the absolute comedy that it is to me, maybe I'm a bad person, we'll find out. Because one of the things that is alleged in the lawsuit is that Billy Napier had direct contact. Billy Napier had direct contact with the father of Jaden Rashada and apparently offered something. Whether it is this job that we have talked about or some money, we will find out more as this lawsuit continues to trickle out. I want you to know I spent a little bit of time yesterday trying to see if I could dig this lawsuit up, because I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I don't care if it's 1,000 pages long. I'm reading it. But apparently, Billy Napier did get involved in the efforts to directly, I don't want to say negotiate, but made offers to the Rashada family, including Jaden's father. And if that is the case, let's be very clear. You may bring the ban hammer down on Billy Napier, and you may bring it down on the Florida Gators. The NCAA alerted Florida about a year ago that they were investigating claims that the football program had violated recruiting rules, according to the document obtained by the AP, that according to ESPN's Mark Schlabach. Rashada claimed in his lawsuit that Napier, here it is, great one. You ready for your turn to sink the talons in? Rashada claims in his lawsuit that Napier directly promised Rashada a $1 million payment from a booster if he signed with Florida, which would be a violation of NCAA policies. Okay.
Yeah, but so this is a he said thing. Unless there's documentation that he actually said it.
And that is what is going to be very interesting to follow in this lawsuit as we begin the prologue of Law and Order, Gainesville. Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. We got our next one going. The NCAA did penalize Florida State and suspended one of its coaches from January for getting involved in NIL offers directly made to a prospect. That, of course, is FSU's offensive coordinator, who has been suspended for, I think 4 games at the beginning of next year. Alex Atkins, going to be suspended for a couple of games because he did the same thing. This is a head coach. Atkins, if I recall off the top of my head correctly, was more in trouble because he effectively offered stop it, man. The Redbird's back outside our window and Lonzo's teasing it with bread and laughing hysterically at it. Atkins was more in trouble because he drove a recruit to a spot to have an NIL meeting, which, again, if Billy Napier did what Jaden Rashada accuses him of doing, to me, Atkins catches a slap on the wrist, Billy Napier catches the ban hammer. That is a direct violation of a very clearly written rule in policy. And I have said how many times? If you want to start handing out the punishments, bring me the evidence. Stop talking about it. Stop making accusations. Put the evidence on the table. My question is it going to be Jaden Rashada that does it first? Is Jaden Rashada going to be the guy who ends up getting the first coach absolutely mudhole stomped because of NIL regulations and guidelines and violations? If he can prove that Billy Napier made him a promise of $1 million to sign with Florida, then the answer is yes. Yes. And it'll be very, very interesting to watch this play out. I am going to see if I can find the entire lawsuit today to read through it for recreation, to be honest, because this is hilarious to me. When we come back here in just a minute. Yesterday, I said on the show that I don't want to talk about Dabo anymore. I don't want to talk about Dabo because either his philosophy is going to work or it's not, and I think this year is the year that we put the period on the end of that sentence. However, I got a lot of comments yesterday asking if I had or was going to address the Paul Feinbaum comments. I don't want to, but I'm here for the people. So I will when we come back. Hashtag thank you, Rob. It's the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
You're live.
All right, guys, quick live read. I'm coming right back. Stay right there for me. for hanging out, people. You're all amazing.
Can anyone tell me why the youths of today cannot pronounce their T's?
What?
Morton. I mean,
I think it's just vernacular, right? It's the same way I say axe. I have to when I say ask, I have to emphasize the K because otherwise I'll just say ass. Let me ask you a question.
I thought you did that on purpose.
I did not. All right, I do not intend to spend multiple segments on these comments, but I have to. Dabo Swinney has been taking criticism, and not for like a short period of time. I'm going to start by going back 7 months. Josh Pate of Late Kick was on after Dabo lost the game to Florida State. And that is about the time that a lot of the criticism started firing up. And at the time, Josh Pate made a couple of comments that I'm going to play, and then we're going to hinge them onto the comments that Paul Feinbaum made. Here is one of the ones that Josh Pate dropped.
I think there's also a pride element here that may have blinded him a little bit, and no one's immune to that. Like you can talk, and I can sit here and tell you all I want to. Oh, Dabo's got an edge on me talking about X's and O's. Oh, Dabo knows how to build an organization a lot better than me, and he does. But that doesn't make him immune to this stuff. It doesn't make him immune to pride getting in the way. And once you start getting criticized by outsiders, sometimes you can get rooted in your way of thinking, and then there can be all kinds of counter information and counter logic that flies in the face of it. But at that point, you're too prideful to come off your stance. I think he's too prideful to come off his stance on things like the portal.
And that is 7 months ago. That's not 7 months ago. It's like 4 months ago. I don't remember how long ago it was. It was a long time ago. All right. The point here is this is not new criticism. I don't know why it's flaring up now like this is some shocking thing that people are on the attack. This has been a criticism of Dabo Swinney for a minute now. This was months ago.
It's because of the comments he made last week or whatever.
That brings it back up, but and I guess this is what I said when we played those comments for you Monday. This isn't new. This is not new. And again, I guess to me, the biggest takeaway from that comment from Josh Pate, which is again, and I'm not trying to pound my chest here, but I've been saying that for months. Granted, I'm not on the level that Pate is, at least in terms of distribution, but I've been saying that for months. At some point, it just kind of feels like he's dug in for the sake of being dug in. That wasn't all Pate had to say.
I respect the value system. I respect the principles he's built that program on. I'm just telling you, it would be very, very misguided to think the formula to win in this sport is always written in pen. It's not. It's written in pencil, and it's ever changing. And the fact of the matter is, the right way or the most effective way to do things in 2015 may not be the most effective way to do things in 2025. And there's no might to that. I'm absolutely telling you the truth. I'm absolutely telling you your biggest rival in the ACC right now just put their team together in a manner that couldn't have been done in 2015. And they just came into your house a few weeks ago and beat you. What's your response going to be? Because they're not going to stop, nor is the rest of the sport. They're not going to stop using that transfer portal. If you're not going to use it, more power to you. It's to be a solid program. It'll take a long time to fully unravel what Clemson's built there. But they're not going to be a championship contender anymore doing it that way. I don't believe that you can voluntarily handcuff one hand behind your back in terms of ignoring a talent acquisition apparatus that is available to you.
Again, nothing I have not been saying since last offseason. It's not a new take. And I guess that is kind of why I've reached this point where even though I'm talking about it right now, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Because one of two things is going to happen. The philosophy of Dabo Swinney is going to work, or the philosophy of Dabo Swinney is going to fail. Those are the only two outcomes. Either it's going to work and you're going to be a championship contender, or it's not going to work. You're not going to be a championship contender. You'll still have some pretty good teams, but you're not going to be, you'll make the playoffs, but you're not going to go in as a favorite. It's going to take some upset wins to get there. And then Clemson fans get to decide, do we care more about, as Pate said in the beginning, and as I've been saying for months now, do you care more about the integrity that you claim that Dabo gives you above the rest of college football? Or do you care more about winning championships and staying at the top of the hill? Because I promise you, once you slide off the top of the mountain, it's real tough to get back on top.
All right, one thing that you said bothers me. You said they're going to make the playoffs. They wouldn't have the last 2 years. And the thing is, they're already on that slide. And that's the part that probably scares a lot of people. They've been on that slide for a couple years now.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So these comments are new. Now, I'm going to, against my own desire, play you the Feinbaum comments. I don't like to. I don't want to. You all know why. But I'm going to play them for you because what you're going to hear that everybody got up in arms about, like this was just the hottest of hot takes, again, is not new.
It is catching up to him as we speak. And, forget the pundits. I know Clemson fans like to aim their arrows at all of us who pontificate about Dabo. But I'm talking about people that graduated from Clemson, people who are Clemson fans. And I run into a lot of them based on where I live. And they don't think Dabo Swinney is going to be there a long time. And when I mean a long time, I mean 3 to 5 years. I mean, I think his time is nearly up. We alliterated a couple of years ago that Dabo's dynasty was done, and people said, how can you say that? Well, a couple of 4-loss seasons will make you believe that. But to me, he is falling so far behind, and that doesn't mean they can't have a good program. That is, if you call 9-3 or 8-4 or maybe an occasional 10-2 a good program. But that's not the same school that went to 6 consecutive CFPs a couple of years ago that played for 4 national championships. I think that part of it is over. And Dabo Swinney may think he's smart and, playing this antediluvian game of this is how it's going to always be. But that's not the way things are. I mean, this week is indicative of that in college football. It has changed so quickly in the last 3 years. And if you missed a minute, you fell behind. He missed 3 years, and he is way behind, and he's not catching up.
That is Dabo Swinney on the McElroy-Kubelik show. Again, it really all kind of comes back around to, and Joey B, I think, just put it in a very interesting way on the stream. He said it's a great experiment being done by a coach who you could say is playing with house money, but most of the money in that house is there because of Dabo. I agree with you entirely. This is so similar. I've brought it up multiple times to the situation that was playing out in Tallahassee at the end of Bobby Bowden's career. Bobby Bowden made Florida State what it was. He made Florida State a premier program. He brought them from being nothing to being one of the blue bloods in college football. But there also came a point where Bobby's way didn't work anymore. The game had evolved. The game had changed. And there were a lot of people that sounded a lot like the Clemson fans now. Well, we're going to do it Bobby's way because Bobby's got integrity and Bobby's got ethics and we're proud of who Bobby is. And that's all well and good. But it came to the point where you had to make a decision. You can be proud of the ethics and the integrity and lose more games than you win, or you can move on. You can get a guy who gets it, who is in the now of college football. And I kind of feel like that's the crossroads you're at now. Joey B's got a great point. Clemson is Clemson because of Dabo Swinney. No one can argue to the contrary. That is a fact. But my question is, do you want to stay where you are? Or do you want to be loyal to Dabo? It's really up to you. And part of the reason, again, I'm not taking a side on that argument because it ain't up to me and it doesn't matter to me. It does not matter to me. It matters to me in that, it'd be nice if Clemson's competing for national champions because, again, I'll make more money. If Clemson's in the playoffs, that's 3 more games that Rob Brown gets to go out in the public and do stuff and get paid to do stuff, and I'm a big fan of that. But whether or not you guys elect to pick a side and go, we either need to modernize and update, and whether that is having Graham Neff go to Dabo Swinney and go, hey, modernize and update your strategy, or we're going to move on, or they just go, we don't think you can, so we're going to move on. Or if the school decides just to ride it out and go, he's earned it. He's got a lifetime contract. He can stay here as long as he wants. It doesn't matter how bad we get. We're going to let him stick around. But what it comes down to me is this. We are now multiple years deep into NIL. We are now multiple years deep into the portal. These criticisms, these critiques, these are not new. These aren't things you haven't heard before. I just played you the audio from Josh Pate from months ago saying this stuff. This isn't new. It is what it is. And Dabo is, as Joey B put it, running an experiment here. And either it's going to work or it's not. And then based on the results of this experiment, you get to make a decision, right? Again, I know it's almost kind of become a caricature, a parody of me on this show. But I am a big fan of applying the scientific method to everything in life. When you have a question about a thing, there is a way that you approach figuring out the answer. You figure out the answer by hypothesizing and experimenting. And then once you do that, you run it back again until you come down to what the answer is. And that is how you figure out your empirical evidence to draw a conclusion. You observe and question, you do your research, you build your hypothesis, you test with an experiment, you analyze the data, you report the conclusions, and once you've reported the conclusions, then you can dial in a little more. Run the circle again, dial in, and eventually you'll come to the conclusion supported by empirical evidence. The empirical evidence this year, the experiment, is this football season, as far as I'm concerned. It is this football season. It's going to work or it's not going to work. And at the end of the season, you will have the conclusion. If Dabo Swinney succeeds, and again, what the mark of success or failure is, it's up to you. Is it win a natty? Is it win the ACC? Is it make the playoff? Is it advance in the playoff? Whatever the mark is for you, at the end of the year, you will have the opportunity to say, my definition of success was X, and he accomplished X, or X plus, or X minus. And you will be able to say the Dabo way does or does not work. And by the way, yesterday we were having this discussion, and Alonzo said, well, isn't a large part of it going to be contingent on Cade Klubnik's success or failure? And I said, yes, absolutely. But finding and implementing quarterbacks is also part of the Dabo method. It's part of the Dabo way. If he's going to miss on 2 or 3 or 4 successive quarterbacks, when this program has been built for a decade around having an excellent quarterback, well, if you built the program around having a top-notch quarterback and you keep missing on top-notch quarterbacks, that is part of the legacy. That is part of the history. That is part of what makes Dabo Dabo. So to me, when we get to the end of this year, now that these critiques, these criticisms are old, and the reason I played you the Pate clip is because I like Josh Pate, for the record. I like Josh Pate. I think he does a good job. I dig his show once or twice a week. I like Josh Pate. The reason I played it is so that I wasn't the only one on the station saying it. Because this is a criticism I had for him last offseason. I asked him about it at ACC Media Days last June. And if I'm there again this June and we get the chance to interview him, I'll ask it again. Do I suspect I'm going to get a different answer than he gave on the ACC network last weekend? No. I'm going to get the exact same effort, but I'm going to give him the opportunity. But as far as I am concerned, we are deep enough now in. We have got teams out there that have gone full portal team. We've got teams that have gone half portal team. We've got teams that just dabble. But you got Michigan that brought in 9. You got Washington that brought in 8. You got Alabama that brought in 8. Those teams in the playoffs. You got Texas that brought in, I think, 7. Those teams in the playoffs, right? So this is the year that he's going to succeed or he's going to fail. And that's why I'm done talking about it. There's nothing new to say. There is going to be nothing more to add to the conversation. I said all of this last offseason. There's Josh Pate saying it 3, 4, 5 months ago. There is nothing more to add to this. There comes a point where, as the expression goes, it is time to put up or it is time to shut up. And that's where we are this football season. So I do not intend to bring it up again until and unless someone adds something to the conversation. But what's there to add now? There's a bunch of people that have the opinion of Dabo's trying to do it the way it worked in 2015, and it does not work that way anymore. There's the people over here that are saying, y'all just don't understand Dabo. You just don't get it. You got to let him cook. He's going to be fine. We'll be back. And then there's me in the middle with no take on either side. My take is, I'll see y'all in January. And if he fails, then we will come back to this conversation. And if he succeeds, then we will never have this talk again, but it's going to be up to y'all. That's it. It is over until the football season is over as far as I am concerned. You know what else is over? This hour, which means it's time for Lonzo to be the Dabo Sweeney of Sports Flashes.
No. You don't put that on me. I don't want none of that. So I'm going to counter it by talking about the South Carolina baseball program onto the double elimination round of the SEC baseball tournament after eliminating Alabama with a 10-5 victory. Carolina faces the 2-seed Arkansas today in round 2. Spurs big man Victor Wembanyama made history, becoming the first rookie ever to be voted to the NBA All-Defensive First Team. Wemby is joined by Rudy Gobert, Bam Adebayo, Herb Jones, and Anthony Davis on the first team, while Alex Caruso, Jalen Suggs, Derek White, Jaden McDaniels, and Drew Holiday are on the second team. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for our brand new local show, Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, and a whole lot of fun. And you know what? It is all Wire to Wire.
We're back, guys. Thanks for hanging in there.
As a roofer, spring means the start of my busy season, which means I've got to get organized. With help from Beacon, I can save time with Beacon Pro Plus and 24/7 access to live pricing, delivery tracking, order history, and more. Plus, this spring, I can earn $1,000 and the chance to win a $25,000 backyard renovation just by buying my Certainty shingles online with Beacon. No purchase necessary. Now that's what I call a spring cleanup. ECN.com for official rules and to start earning entries.
Some people just know the more you protect, the more you save with Allstate. Because they know insurance matters. Like if you protect your home and auto, Allstate can save you up to 25%. So it's like losing money if you don't bundle. Save more when you protect more.
Dun, 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 dun.
Bundled savings vary by state and are not available in every state. Saving up to 25% is the countrywide average of the maximum available savings of the home policy. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates of Illinois.
Brighter than you. Breaking news, Dabo. Most coaches don't want to do it. Most coaches don't want to deal with paying players that transfer portal and NIL. What they do, they retire. They suck like the rest of us who work for a living and do the job. He's going to get himself fired or Clemson relegated to mediocrity. It doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what's easy. It doesn't matter what's pleasant. It doesn't matter if your dad was leave what happened 5 or 10 years ago. The game is past Dabo by. He's a dynasty.
Brighter than you.
Brighter than you.
Weekdays 10 to noon on the Fan Upstate. Jim Rome in the jungle.
Don't. I have nothing to do with it.
I wasn't saying you did.
I mean, did I put the promo together? Yes. But I did not touch the donut. Sorry, your mouth hurts, Rob.
So bad, man. Like I got punched in the face.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Only on the Fan Upstate.
Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown radio program goes now. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob and Lonzo with you. Fighting through it. Fighting through the pain today. Playing like a champion. Feel like I got punched in the jaw by a Vander Holyfield. But you know what? You show up, you go to work. That's what you do. Lonzo asked me a question this morning. We just had the conversation about Dabo Swinney, where I played the clips from Pate and Feinbaum and responded to them as much as I didn't want to. The reality is it just wasn't an option. There were enough of you that asked about it. So, of course, I gave my thoughts. Now, while we were having this conversation in the Fortress of Nerditude this morning, where Lonzo and I gather on the daily to go through the hours and hours of pregame preparation that we undertake on a daily basis to make sure this show is as good as it can be.
Which is award-winning, by the way.
2-time award-winning, just so we're clear. When we were in there this morning, I played a clip as I was going through the roster to figure out, all right, I'm gonna pick 1 or 2 of these. I'm not gonna run with 100 clips. I'm gonna pick 1 or 2. And one of those clips referred to Dabo Swinney as, quote, a legendary head coach, end quote. And Zoe said to me, what makes a college head coach legendary? Like, has Dabo done enough to define himself as legendary? The man went to 6 consecutive college football playoffs. He won 2 national championships in the playoff era. Well, like, what makes him legendary? So I got to thinking about that a lot. I was wondering if you guys have any input on this conversation. I did as I do as a giant dork, and I started thinking, all right, let's break this down to what it literally is. A legendary person is a person of legend. A legend has 2 definitions. 1, an extremely famous or notorious person, especially in a particular field. Or 2, a traditional story sometimes popularly regarded as historical but unauthenticated. Those are the two definitions of legend, literally. And I thought to myself, I kind of feel like that's a pretty good divide of where people would place Dabo, right? I feel like a good portion of them, the majority of Clemson fans, would say that he is, quote, an extremely famous person, especially in a particular field. And I feel like pretty much everybody outside of Clemson might be willing to call it a, quote, traditional story, sometimes popularly regarded as historical but unauthenticated.
So when I asked that question, did you go in your mind about who you would consider legendary? Because as soon as I thought of that, and is it regional? So my first thought was Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes, Joe Paterno. I mean, you can disregard a lot of stuff, but he still was legendary for a long time.
Sure.
You mentioned Bobby Bowden. Bobby Bowden, legendary.
Sure. Hey, I'll give you a controversial one. Joe Paterno's legendary.
I just said that.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Thanks for listening.
I was putting together my own list because I wanted to make sure that I had the list put together while you were going through yours. So I missed Paterno. I was stuck on old Punchy McPuncher up there at Ohio State is where I thought you still were.
No, I did mention Paterno and said the fact that you could, if you put the controversy aside before all that, just from a football standpoint, he was legendary for his longevity and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
There have been, for a long time in this area, it was Danny Ford who was legendary before Dabo came along. But I have never heard ever anyone call Dabo Swinney legendary.
So,
and we live here, so you would think, and I know enough Clemson fans, I've never heard them say he's legendary.
Texter says, Rob, he is a Clemson legend. Local and national don't matter. The nation has no idea how hard it was for Clemson to do what they've done. I actually agree with that. I have no issue. Not only would I say that Dabo Swinney is a Clemson legend, I think he is the Clemson legend, at least when it comes to football.
Yeah, but can you be a legend while you're still there?
Yeah, 100%. Bobby Bowden was a legend before he left Florida State.
I don't know.
Joe Paterno was the answer has to be yes, because Joe Paul left Penn State and he died like a day later, and he's a legend. So I would say yes. You absolutely can be a legend. You can be legendary and do legendary things and be recognized as it is happening. But my question mark is not so much whether he is or isn't. And I thought about this after Zoe and I had this conversation in the Fortress of Nerditude this morning. My question is, what happens if Josh Pate is right, if Paul Feinbaum is right, and Clemson does not return back to the top of the mountain?
Well, he still did what he did. Again, I don't know that I consider him legendary. I don't know. Clemson fans are listening right now. Do you consider him legendary? A couple people in the stream are mentioning Urban Meyer. I don't know if they're just trying to mess with Rob, but I don't know that I consider him legendary. And in my mind, I don't know what makes someone legendary. Is it championships? Is it longevity? Is it relevance during the time that they were coaching? I don't know.
Dabo Swinney was, for the better part of a decade, one of the most important and impactful people in college football. And I'm not saying he's not today, because you will recognize that as you flip around channels right now, whether it's local or regional or hell national, we just heard a promo a minute ago from Bill Ryder of Ryder Than You, which airs right after this program on the Fan Upstate. That's an LA guy. That's a guy in Los Angeles. He is as far from here as you can get in the continental United States of America. He's on the other side of the planet, and yet he is doing segments about Dabo Swinney. That makes you important and impactful.
Yeah, but this
is
more about because he's the only coach who's not a military coach who didn't use the transfer portal. That's made him stand out. It's not about his coaching accomplishments.
I don't disagree.
It's about his lack of accomplishments lately.
Would they be having this conversation if it was Eli Drinkfitz in Mizzou? No, probably not.
If he was the only one, maybe.
And if they did, if they did, I promise you it wouldn't be to the length and extent. I do not think that Bill Ryder, I think we're doing it on this show and on this station because we're clued into Southern college football. I think we do. I don't think Bill Ryder.
Well, and Clemson's like right over there. So, I mean,
I'm saying if this is Mizzou, if this is, I don't know, Vandy, I think we're probably referencing. I don't know why I always go to poor Vandy. They always catch the smoke.
Well, they know. But they'll be running places eventually when they graduate.
I think if this is Vandy or if it's Mizzou or if it's Arkansas, if it's one of those schools, I absolutely do think we're still talking about it on this show and on this station. But I do not think that Bill Ryder of Ryder Than You is talking about it. Just like the contrary is true. If this happened to one of the nobody schools out near LA, right? If this had, I don't want to say nobody school, but if this happened and it was Cal, this is Cal. If Cal is the only school not to do it, honestly, I don't think it registers. I think Bill Ryder talks about it because that's an LA show and an LA guy, but I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I think we would mention it, but I don't think it's anything that we would hang on.
I think you should pick another school that recently has won championships, not those. It's more about how good they were recently than it is a school that hasn't won in forever.
I agree, but isn't that part of Dabo's legacy?
So
if it's not for Dabo, they are not relevant to be talked about in LA.
If Nick Saban was still coaching and not using portal guys, that would be a story. If Ryan Day does it, that's a story. Any other team that's been in the playoffs in the last 5 or 6 years, that's a story.
I agree,
but not those other guys.
That's exactly my point, though. That's exactly my point.
Doesn't make them legendary. I just and I think legendary, even though you read off two definitions, I think I don't know how collectively as sports media or whoever decides, hey, that guy's a legend. I don't know when that happens and how that's decided.
Well, I think like most other titles of that nature, I don't necessarily think it's a collective decision. I think it's just something that let me use an illustration. Yesterday, I was watching a video. There's a British comedian by the name of Jimmy Carr. You know who he is? You ever heard of Jimmy Carr? All right, he's a British comedian who is known for his witty but very dark humor. And Jimmy Carr said one of the things he's fascinated in right now is how the line between genius and crazy is very frequently established by how many people are on board with the concept you're talking about, right? He said, think about it. If you think about, for instance, and he used the example of, so I'm going to, get me in trouble, it is what it is. You think about the concept of religion, right? If you got 8 billion people that follow a certain religion, it's a respected cultural idea. But then you have Scientology that's only got a couple of thousand people, and we all say it's lunacy. It's the same. They arrived at the same conclusions the same way, but it's looked at an entirely different way. He brought up the concept of violence. He goes, if one person goes around and starts shooting people because of their beliefs, that person's a psychopath. But if a country does it, it's a war. We have a completely different attitude and perspective based on the number of people that get behind an idea. And so I think when we take those very dramatic examples and translate them over to college football, it is a matter of, is he accepted by the general populace as a legend? And I would tell you that I would start with how many other schools would have killed in his prime to have Dabo as the head coach. Well, I'll say this. I don't know that I can quantify that number, but what I can tell you is that while Dabo was in his prime, do you remember what the conversation going on around Tuscaloosa, Alabama was? And this is in the Nick Saban era? I do, because I was covering that team down in Florida. When he was in his prime, Dabo Swinney, and Nick Saban, who, by the way, was frequently meeting Dabo Swinney in the college football playoffs, when he was in his prime, Alabama fans were very much on board with, well, you know, as soon as Nick's ready to go, we just go grab Dabo. Like it wasn't Bama fans coming forward and throwing out their, well, here's my guy. I think we should go with this guy, and I think we should go with that guy. And then a bunch of them said Dabo. No, it was pretty much consensus at the time, circa 2016, 17, 18, 19, hell, maybe 20. It was pretty much consensus at the time that when Nick stepped away, they were just getting Dabo. They were just going to go, hey, Dabs, come on home, and he was going to do it.
You actually believed – I never bought that for a second.
What, that they would have hired him that he would go?
That they would have.
Oh, they absolutely would have.
No way. No way. No, I mean, you get mad, but no way.
No, it's not that I'm mad.
It's two different kinds of coaches, and you're going to say that it's bias in there. But no, Dabo, from what we understand, is more of a manager than he is an X's and O's guy. And you're going to want a guy who's like Nick Saban to come in there, and it's two different kinds of coaches.
I can tell you this as a fact. And I am very anti #sources guy. All right. Don't make stuff up inside a source. I had a direct conversation with someone on the Alabama Crimson Tide athletic department staff that said Dabo's our guy when Nick leaves. That's not a #sources. That is a direct conversation with a person that was on the staff.
Still sounds like an opinion.
That is a guy who worked for Mal Moore, the athletic director at the time.
Again,
right?
It sounds like that's that guy's opinion.
He would have said, that's my guy. That's my pick. He said, Dabo, okay, all right, believe who you want to believe here.
No, you speak for us all the time.
Okay,
I mean,
that's why I just said, believe who you want to believe. Lonzo or I am telling you, I had direct conversation with somebody in the athletic department at Alabama that said, if Nick Saban leaves, Dabo's the guy we're going after. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. If Nick stepped away years ago, Dabo was the guy they were going for.
So the only reason why Dabo isn't in Alabama now is because he had a couple losing seasons? Is that the only reason?
No, I think there's a bunch of reasons. I suspect Dabo wouldn't have taken the job. I do suspect that the I'm going to use the word fall off.
As far as we know, he wasn't offered the job. So I mean,
because
if
Nick
your
didn't
source,
leave. Because Nick didn't leave.
He did.
No,
he's not there, is he?
First off, you nor I know if Dabo was offered the job at Alabama, right? So we can't say he wasn't. I can't say he was, but I can't say he wasn't.
You're right.
Right? Here's what I can say. Had Nick left in 2018, because they were getting ready for it, because the Nick Saban retirement rumors were around for a number of years.
So what I just said, if Dabo was winning, would he be there?
I don't know if he'd be there, but he would have been offered the job.
Nah, I don't think so.
Okay, believe who you want to believe.
Right. I'm giving you my opinion. You talked about all day, well, this is what we do here. In my opinion, Dabo would not have fit in Alabama, and I don't think they ever eyed him for that job.
Oh.
I think fans do what fans do and put it out there. Oh, it's going to happen. And I had never believed that.
I can tell you for a fact he was eyed. I'm not saying a move was made or a letter was sent. No, I can. I can tell you that for a fact. I can tell you that for a fact. I grew up with a young lady who went on to become an SID at the University of Alabama, and through her, I was in direct contact with their athletic department. I can tell you for a fact he was lined up as a heavily favored candidate and prospect when 4 or 5 years ago, when the Nick Saban retirement rumors started to swirl around a little bit. I can tell you for a fact that he was eyed as a candidate. I can't tell you as a fact that he was the favorite candidate or that he was going to be offered the job. But what I can tell you is he was absolutely on the Alabama wish list. And as far as I'm concerned, if Alabama at the height of Nick Saban had you lined up as the heir to the throne, and they did, you are that is an argument towards making you legendary.
If Dabo was a legend, he'd be in Alabama right now.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Again, was Bobby Bowden a legend, despite the fact that he failed a lot in the last couple of years of his career?
Not only was he a legend, he was a daggum legend.
The best kind of legend. Was Joe Pa a legend, despite the fact that towards the end of his career, things spiraled out of control? Absolutely. Legends don't always have to be good, right? So, this is my question. Do we label it? This is peak off-season radio. Do we label him a legend or not? Texas says these national conversations are so good for Clemson. There is one more thing, speaking of that Paul brought up that I would like to give it to you that I don't think anybody's considered. We'll hit that when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, one more live read. I'm right back. Stay right there.
Chelsea Green.
Yeah, I mean, heard it. Just her turning around. It's just like, did you watch the duck yet?
I'm watching the duck right now. That's fantastic.
Not if you're driving, it's not, because that's a big duck.
That is a big duck.
Imagine driving through that duck. That would be a problem.
Duck would envelop your vehicle.
Sorry to inform you that Lonzo is no longer around. He died by driving through a big duck.
Death by duck.
Today, sunny with a low of 60, high 86. Weather brought to you by Staples. Staples stores have great prices on all the products and services for your small business or remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store.
Sponsored by ShumbaCasino.com. Welcome to the ultimate playground for online.
New Life next break.
10-4. Where did my Ron Cherry go? Did I accidentally delete it? Nope, there it is. Found it. Why am I finding it now?
Can't wait to hear what's next on Wire to Wire with Cole.
Obviously, you can't perform under pressure. So disappointing. I have missed so many opportunities with cuts because I had to move stuff around because my things were disappearing and I can't find them. And I always find it like 30 seconds after I needed it, and it's too late.
Afternoons 3 to 7 on the Fan Upstate.
You should just get a big cube of ice and put it in there right now.
I'm taking like 8 ibuprofen sweets. Whatever, you know.
I didn't need more reasons to like Victor Wembanyama. Yes, I am upshifting to an NBA story that's not the playoffs. Whatever, deal with it. I didn't need more reasons to like Wemby, but I have two. I have two big ones. The first is that Victor Wembanyama is the first rookie in the history of the league to make the NBA's all-defensive first team. The second is that we found out a couple of days ago, the first thing that Victor Wembanyama bought when he got his first NBA paycheck. What was it? The $850 Lego Millennium Falcon. Incredible. Incredible. And it's only incredible because I have been through the Haywood Mall a number of times. There's a Lego store in there. I have been by it a few times. In fact, last Christmas, we went in there to go buy the nephew some Lego Star. He's big into Star Wars now because Uncle Rob's the best. We went to go buy him some Star Wars Lego stuff. And I rolled up in there, and hanging from the ceiling, they had a Millennium Falcon. And I was like, that's it. I tapped the fiance on the shoulder. I'm like, that's what I want. Get me that. Give me that. That's what I want right there. And she goes, oh, okay. And then she came back about a week and a half later, and she goes, yeah, you're not getting that for Christmas. And I said, why? And she said, because it's over $800. And I went, oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, you're right. I'm not getting that for anything, actually. Wemby, because Wemby got that NBA paycheck, went ahead and spent $850 on that as his first purchase. I respect that. I also respect that he is the first player in NBA history to make the league's all-defensive first team as a rookie. They announced that team yesterday. Wemby appeared on 98 of the 99 ballots cast. Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert headlined the team and was the only unanimous selection. Joined on the first team alongside Rudy Gobert and Victor Wembanyama is Miami's Bam Adebayo, New Orleans' Herb Jones, and the Lakers' Anthony Davis as your starting five. Lined up in the second five are Alex Caruso. And, of course, now we got to take a second to load. There it is. Alex Caruso is a second-teamer. Jalen Suggs, Derek White, Jaden McDaniels of Minnesota, and Drew Holiday of Boston. Something very interesting about this. And I know it is kind of I know it is kind of downplayed by the fact that half the league makes the playoffs nowadays, but I would like to point out that with the exception of the Chicago Bulls and Alex Caruso, everybody else on the starting defensive team has made the playoffs. Rudy Gobert in Minnesota. Bam Adebayo in Miami made the playoffs. Herb Jones in New Orleans made the playoffs. Anthony Davis in the Lakers made the playoffs. Jalen Suggs in Orlando made the playoffs. Derek White in Boston made and are still in the playoffs. Jaden McDaniels, Minnesota, made and still are in the playoffs. And Drew Holiday, Boston, made and still are in the playoffs. Here's what I'm throwing at you. Over the years, there has been this developed mentality that the NBA is doing everything in its power to make the league more offensive friendly. They're doing everything in their power to spin the league towards more points, more dunks, more threes, more action on the offensive end. And I'm not going to say that's wrong, because I do think there is an element of that in play. Because yes, whether we like it or not, when it comes down to it, we can prove that high-scoring games sell and low-scoring games drive people away on TV. And as I've said 1,000 times and will 1,000 times more on this radio program, what drives every decision that is made in sport? Money. Eyeballs on the TV. That is the alpha and the omega of the decision-making process. It starts with, how do we get more eyeballs and money? And it ends with, how do we get more eyeballs and money? But there is still an element of defense that can help you succeed. There is still an element of defense that will help your team in the long run. Boston is not just still alive, is up 1-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and at this point, they open this series at minus 1,200 to win. I haven't looked it up today. I'd be willing to bet it's closer to like minus 2,100 today after winning game one. Boston's got 2 players on the all-defensive team. Minnesota has 2 players on the all-defensive team, McDaniels and Gobert. Here they are over in the West. And while they have not won a game in the Western Conference Finals yet because they haven't played one yet, they are the favorites tonight. 4.5-point favorites sitting about minus 150, 160, depending on the book you're looking at, on the money line. 2 defensive players. Bam Adebayo, 1 player from Miami. They make the playoffs. Herb Jones, 1 player from New Orleans. They make the playoffs. Anthony Davis, 1 player from the Lakers. They met the playoffs. Now, in fairness, all these teams got bounced. Jalen Suggs in Orlando. The 2 teams that have 2 All-NBA defensive players, Minnesota and Boston, are the only 2 teams that are still alive. You can still win in the NBA with defense. The Timberwolves have been hanging around the number 1 spot in defensive efficiency all year long. Hey, anybody want to guess who the number 2 team in defensive efficiency this year is? The Dallas Mavericks. You will notice that the Dallas Mavericks went up against the Oklahoma City Thunder and won. They are on to the Western Conference Finals. Their game 1 is tonight. Do you know who the 3rd most defensively efficient team in the NBA was? The Indiana Pacers. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. As far as the teams that, by the way, Boston was hanging around all year long as one of the most defensively efficient teams in the league, the 1 seed. The Nuggets were inside the top 5 the majority of the year. Reigning, defending, undisputed world champions. The Thunder were inside the top 5 to 6 most of the year. Shocked by the Mavs. The Mavs inside the top. All of the teams. Let's go season long. Of the top 10 teams in defensive efficiency this year, top 10 teams in defensive efficiency, the Clippers are the only ones that didn't make any noise. Outside of them, overall defensive efficiency this year, all of the teams that you are looking at, all of the teams that have made it into the final rounds of the playoffs, all towards the top of the defensive efficiency ratings. The Timberwolves, the Celtics, the Magic, the Thunder, the Heat, the Pelicans, the Cavs, the Nuggets, the Knicks. If you look at their pure just defensive rating, this is the one number that takes everything into effect, right? If I look at the teams that are in the top 10 defensive efficiency overall, Timberwolves, Celtics, Magic, Thunder, Heat, Pelicans, Cavs, Nuggets, Knicks, and the only team that didn't make the playoffs inside the top 10 was the Houston Rockets. And they had a better year than most people expected them to. Not because they scored a bunch of points, but because they had one of the better defensive ratings and defensive efficiency ratings in the NBA. I understand the league has tilted towards being an offensive league. It is more exciting on TV, whether we like it or not. But I'm telling you, at this point, you can get a real good read as to who's going to do what if you look at the defensive efficiency ratings, because it says the best defensive teams are the teams that are alive in the playoffs, and the best defensive teams, the Timberwolves and the Celtics, when it came to defensive rating, are the two best teams still standing in the playoffs. We'll see if Dallas has got anything to say about it, but those are the two best teams in that spot. You want to win in the NBA, yeah, you got to score a bunch of points, but you better slap the ground and play some defense, and the numbers are showing that. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Got a few more things to run through as we wrap up hour 3 of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
New life.
Quick ride, guys. Be right back. That's a good question, Shane. I need to look that up. That's a great question.
Learn more about the greatest tool ever, the Name Your Price tool at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular.
Hi, Ted.
Orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously.
By the way, if you look over here and it looks like I'm crying, I am. I'm just gonna say, not really, but might as well just say, yeah, that's me. I'm crying. But sometimes I realize how blessed I am to be here on this fine program at this wonderful radio station. And it's mostly really good building.
Mostly really good.
There's
Stay today.
I mean, there's some places now.
We talked about the Jaden Rashada thing earlier in the show. There is another factor to that I would like to address. You will remember back in February of this year that the NCAA sent a letter to its schools explaining that it was pausing all open enforcement cases, quote, involving third-party participation in NIL-related activities, end quote, after a federal judge in Tennessee granted an injunction that prohibited the NCAA from enforcing some of its rules. Pardon me. That case was filed by Tennessee's Attorney General after the NCAA opened an investigation into the Tennessee Volunteers' recruiting tactics, which means that right now the NCAA may not do anything. They may not do anything, despite the fact that what Jaden Rashada's lawsuit alleges Billy Napier did, which is directly against NCAA protocols. Apparently, the NCAA right now is not going to do much at all. ESPN's got an article up right now that is written by, it's in a conglomerative effort.
I thought you were going to say crayon. It's written in
some of these stories feel like they should be. They wrote an article and it says, quote, any other high-profile enforcement actions taken by the NCAA, such as a penalty for Napier or the Gators, could invite additional lawsuits at a time when the association remains vulnerable to antitrust scrutiny, which makes it unlikely that any NCAA punishments could be coming soon, end quote. Dan Murphy wrote that for ESPN. I'm real interested in this. I'm real interested in if this goes anywhere. Because again, on one hand, the concept was they were pausing investigations into NIL involving third-party members. Is Billy Napier a third-party member? Like, he kind of feels like he's at the very worst second party as a direct representative of the University of Florida. It kind of feels like he would be a direct party of this. I will say this. I don't know what the NCAA decides to do here, if anything or if nothing at all. What I will say is, if Jaden Rashada's lawsuit does indeed successfully prove that, as he is alleged to have done, Billy Napier promised a milli to Jaden Rashada to become a Florida Gator quarterback. If he did indeed promise a milli and the NCAA does not step in, then at that point, I will probably have to come over to your side and say, it's the wild, wild west, right? Because if the guideline, like the number one guideline that was put out there, coaches can assist in putting people on the same page. They can assist in facilitating a meeting between players and NIL interested businesses. They cannot be directly connected to it. They cannot make offers. They cannot help negotiate. They cannot be involved in those things. And here's a coach who was. Again, if Jaden Rashada's lawsuit can prove that it happened. At this point, obviously, we're on a pause. I don't know what the timeline is for Jaden Rashada's lawsuit. I tried to find it last night. I could not. I don't know what the timeline is. I don't know if there is the opportunity on the table for many lawsuits like this one to end up settling. Perhaps Jaden Rashada settles with Florida for $9.5 million, which is what he turned down from Miami to then go to Florida for $85 million, almost $19 million. Maybe Florida goes, tell you what, we will make good on the 9.5 that Miami was going to give you if you'll drop the suit. Because we'd rather pay half than the whole and we might lose the whole. Or Florida says, screw that, and they fight it. Screw that, they fight it, they take it to court, and they go, you can't prove any of these things. You cannot prove that Billy Napier offered you $1 million. You cannot prove that these other entities were actors with each other, were acting with each other. You can't prove any of those things. So we're going to go ahead and go with the lawsuit. But I will say whenever that lawsuit happens, whenever that lawsuit takes place, the outcome of that lawsuit will be enormous. I don't think scratch that. It is definitively not as big as the Hauser v. NCAA lawsuit that's happening right now. The ACC and the Big 12 have already voted to accept the settlement ruling. The rest of the Power 5 conferences and NCAA Board of Governors are expected to do so either today or tomorrow.
So you really don't think this has the potential to be bigger than that? Because this could take down NIL to a degree, couldn't it?
I don't think it does. I'll tell you what I think it does. I think it makes the schools make damn sure that, hey, they have no leash on coaches and how they participate in the process.
You know how this world works. If this lawsuit is successful, suddenly more lawsuits are going to pop up.
Again, it's to me, and I guess this is kind of the attitude that I have taken towards the whole thing. To me, I am absolutely treating it as if it is a business. And just like in any other business, there are rules and regulations by which you must abide. And if you do not abide by those rules and regulations, there is a punishment. When you enter in a contract with someone and you do not honor the terms of that contract, there is a punishment for that. It could come in the form of a lawsuit or whatever else. To me, this whole thing, again, for right now, working under the assumption that the $9.5 million offer from Miami was and is legitimate, and that the $18.5 million NIL offer to Jaden Rashada that fell through for Florida is not, or was legitimate until it was not. Working under that, I think you can lean here on it is just going to be the catalyst. It is going to be the trigger which forces these schools, these conferences, these coaches, these entities to be much more regimented, strict, rigid, whatever word you want to use, in the way that they pull this whole thing together. Because you can't be Billy Napier. You can't be Florida, especially if Jaden Rashada wins his lawsuit. And then, the NCAA down the line, because it would be down the line, the NCAA goes, okay, we are going to start enforcing NCAA NIL infractions. And Billy Napier and the Florida Gators committed kind of a huge one. Kind of a real big one. And so because they did that, we are going to retroactively bring the ban hammer down on them. And if that is what ends up happening, then in the future, and really even if it doesn't, even if it's just as simple as Rashada wins the lawsuit, if you are another school, to me it doesn't mean you stop with NIL, you stop offering, you stop whatever, especially now considering the settlement is going to mean that there's going to be a revenue sharing process in place for these athletes with the schools. But it doesn't mean you stop offering. It doesn't mean you stop facilitating. What it means is you make sure, if you are the administration, that your coaches know exactly what they are and are not allowed to do. That these coaches know exactly what they are allowed to say and what they aren't allowed to say, who they are allowed to talk to and who they are not allowed to talk to, who they are allowed to negotiate with and not negotiate with, and you make sure they're following letter of the law, because if you don't, you might get slapped with a $19 million lawsuit.
So you don't think they already know that?
I think that they have probably, especially right now when the NCAA has pretty much told them, we can't and will not enforce any rules right now. I suspect right now, yes, they are probably a little loose with the, what word do we want to use here? Observation of how NIL practices are taking place. Because again, why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't they be? There's no one governing right now. This is part of the problem that there has been with the NCAA for some time. There's no one governing right now. And if there's no one regulating the rules, then people don't follow them. Do people follow the speed limit on the interstate because they know it's in the best interest of the public? No. They follow the rule on the interstate so they don't get tagged by the red and blues behind them. That's why they follow the rule.
Or they know that there's no police presence, and so they go ahead and do what they want.
100%.
Which could also be what's going on in college football. I know there's no proof, but it could be going on.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I know it's speculative, but still, if this thing goes through and he actually wins this case, I'm going to be interested to see what happens after that.
I agree. And that's, I guess, is kind of the point that I'm making here, is if this school, if what Jaden Rashada is alleging in this lawsuit is true and accurate, and Billy Napier did the things that he's accused of doing, and these big boosters did the things that they're accused of doing, then Jaden Rashada is going to win this lawsuit. And at some point in the future, after the settlement is over, and after we have gotten to whatever the new era trigger is, then at that point, if the NCAA is still their governing body over the landscape of college football, and they come down on Billy Napier and the University of Florida, then yeah, all this stuff changes. And they'll have to rein in. But right now, it's like there's no highway patrolman out on the interstate and everybody knows it. Will you have a couple of cars that are going to still do the speed limit because they know it's in the interest of safety? Sure. But I've been on 385 at rush hour. I've been out there now that we all have the apps on our phone that tell us when there is and when there ain't a cop. And some of y'all are wild. Some of y'all are cray-cray on the roads. I have been dusted while speeding myself, allegedly, a number of times. So that's kind of where we are right now. I'm not going to go with Wild Wild West. I'm going to go, we're on the interstate, and the Highway Patrol have sent out an email saying, we're not governing the interstate right now. We don't have the resources, the manpower, the money to do it. So please drive safe, everybody. And 90% of folks on the interstate absolutely ain't doing that. That's where we are right now. The Highway Patrol still exists. They can still jump back on the interstate at any given moment. And when they do, they might pop a speeder or two that are going by at the wrong time. But until they get that funding, the settlement, it is what it is. All right, we got to run to a break. When we come back, Hayden Ask Mario from the BetQL Network joins us to talk a little NBA playoffs. Then we'll get into the one comment Paul Feinbaum made that I did find very interesting about the future of Clemson being impacted by Dabo's decision-making. We'll do that, and then we ask what the X is going on, and then we go home from the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Hey, Lonzo is about to wow you.
Yeah, we ain't going home yet. We got a full hour with some amazing stuff like this. Well, less than 9 seconds to play. The Indiana Pacers had a 3-point lead over the Boston Celtics and the ball, but a turnover and Jaylen Brown 3 with 6 seconds left sent the game to overtime, and the Celtics pulled away for a 133-128 win in Game 1. Tyrese Halliburton had 25, and Pascal Siakam had 24 to lead Indy, while Boston was led by Jason Tatum with 36 and Drew Holiday with 28. Game 2 is Thursday, while Game 1 between Dallas and Minnesota in the West is tonight. South Carolina baseball team is onto the double elimination round of the SEC baseball tournament after eliminating Alabama with a 10-5 victory. Carolina faces the 2 seed Arkansas today in round 2. Hey, tune in this afternoon for our brand new show, Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel get you caught up on all the latest sports news. Great guests, great debate, all Wire to Wire. It's a jam cam, lady. It's not brought to you by the traffic jam. I mean, come on. I tell you what happened, Steven. Same thing's been happening for the last 3 days. I'm on the 3rd day of headache. It is dissipating, but it's still there. But it's steadily getting worse as the morning goes. Which is why the last couple of days I haven't participated that much, because coherent thought, even less than usual, is not really something that I'm having. Not even sure I worded that right, because I don't know what I'm saying. So here's the thing, when you play hurt, sometimes it shows.
Just the same, but is 95% cheaper, and you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free with zero copay.
Don't get his flag rubber on.
And no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Your morning jolt of sports. It's the Rob Brown Show.
He had the interception that
Prize Picks in the first break.
Prize Picks in the first break.
They broke down the play a couple of ways. It was right there. It was sideline. You cannot really hide too much in the sideline.
If that ball is elevated 6 inches, it's a remarkable throw. No, I do. You're thinking if he was 6 inches taller, as if the height of a quarterback determines the trajectory.
In my head, I hear my voice going,
But that's not how throwing a football works.
Well, it does if you tell me.
Everybody wants to talk Stroud and Richardson, and you should. Those guys are impressive. But as I've said, you're also seeing them, I think, play about as close to their ceiling as they're going to get. They're close to their ceiling. I don't think Bryce Young is.
He's silly. You keep doing it. It's not me. David, I hate that was funny.
Don't hit snooze. Play the Rob Brown Show. Now, morning 6 to 10 on the.
Oh crap! I gotta send Mario an invite. I forgot something.
Another phase of dominance, and this Chiefs team has the potential to be more dominant than the Patriots, because the Patriots dynasty have these long chasms of time where they didn't win. I'm not sure that's happening.
He said chasms.
I thought I heard chasms.
He said chasms. Maybe it's a California way of saying it.
It's not.
You know. We're just a little bit early. Do it. Yeah, I did it.
Check this out. You're an official Rob Brown lockdown. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show.
Hey Rob, did you know Dabo's not a word?
It's not a. It's a name. It's not a.
Autocorrect wants to change it to either Dab, Dow, or Dabo.
What was the last one?
Dabo. Dabboo. No idea what that is, but it's pronounced Dabo.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is the final hour of the Wednesday edition of the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. We have been all over. Don't you do that again. Do not do that again, Hayden Mario. We have been all over the map today. We got a little NBA basketball back in the first hour. Now we return because on Wednesdays at this time, we are joined by the executive producer of Bet for the Cycle, which airs every Saturday from noon to 4 on the BetQL network, as well as the executive producer of 99% of the other shows that happen on that network. He is also an NBA analyst for the BetQL network. He is Hayden Mario. Mario Heron joining us on the show. What's up, big dog?
Guys, what's up? Good morning. Just learned something this early. That's great. You love to learn something new every single day. So thank you for that.
Wait, don't tell us. Don't tell us. I'm gonna write it down, Lonzo. I'm gonna write it down, and if he's right, if I'm right in my prediction of what he's about to tell us, I'm gonna be real mad. What is it, Mario?
Dabo thing.
Oh,
that's what I was gonna say.
Let's go say. Where are you going? Were you not there?
Yeah, I thought
5 minutes ago. I mean,
I thought you were about to dunk on me that the Cubs walked off the Braves in Game 1 last night. That's what I thought was about to happen.
I was too busy fighting for my life in this Pacers Celtics game. Because I just forgot, guys, that the whole ESPN cast is either Boston or the Knicks, and the Pacers don't matter, and that they shouldn't get any love for the play they've gotten. And suddenly everyone hates the Pacers. Like, how do you beat a New York team and face a Boston team, and you're the most hated team? Can someone make sense for that? I don't get it.
No one can make sense of it because it does not make sense. I did a whole thing on Monday about the raw aggravation I had that I tuned into that network for a Game 7. And there is nothing better in sports than a playoff Game 7. Anywhere, anything. There's nothing better than a playoff Game 7. And I tuned in and I assumed I was on the wrong channel and I was on the Madison Square Garden network because it was just a love fest for the Knicks, to the point that exactly the opposite. I've been giving you crap all postseason long. I'm Team Indiana now. I'm Team Pacers for the rest of this ride because of how aggravating that was.
They go to Stephen A on the sideline, and it's him just giving a pump-up speech for the Knicks, just trying to get everyone riled up. What is going on here? Can we not, is there not a story right there of a small market team that was expected to do nothing this year, make a run where Tyrese Halliburton, a star that was traded, and what we might look back on one of the worst trades in NBA history? Is there not a storyline there? Rick Carlisle comes back. Miles Turner was put on the trading block every year in his career, and now he's been huge in his playoff moments. TJ McConnell is a little rat out there that's somehow being a huge part of this run. Like, there's so much fun stuff about this team, but it's like, no, let's talk about the Knicks, because you guys have done something for the first time in forever. I'm just sick of it, man. Like, let's give them a little love. It's Indiana. Basketball was raised in Indiana, born in Massachusetts and raised in Indiana. That's what they say.
No, that's what you say.
No, it's been said. Naismith
Yeah,
said
by
that.
you.
I've heard it many times, so it's got to be
From
true.
him.
Thank you, Lonzo.
Oh God, you guys. Mario Herring here from the BetQL Network. Let's talk a little bit about that game last night. Hating ass Mario, because, dude, I said it as the very first thing. I opened the show with it. What a choke job from the Pacers. That thing was in the books. That thing was in the bag. It was all over. If you went with the plus 600 money line outright win, you were dancing naked in the living room because daddy was buying new bourbon the next day. Like, what are we doing here? Why? How do you you are an NBA player and you just dribble the ball off your foot when all you had to do was catch the ball and stand there? What are we doing?
Dude, look, the turnovers killed them all game, and 14 of the 21 turnovers were in the second half, in case you guys couldn't tell. And foul up three, one more time, foul up three. That Jaylen Brown should have not gotten that shot off. Siakam should have fouled him right away. Go that route. You win that game. They don't. It's one of those things where you kind of see like the young and the inexperienced in them a little bit. At the same time, in that, like, you saw a lot of holes in Boston. Like that, I walked away from that game even more going, yeah, like it's the Timberwolves' title to win. It's not Boston's title to win at all. And the Pacers, like, you got to be pretty proud of yourselves. Like, you just came off a 7-game series. You didn't have a lot of rest, and you almost won in the Garden. You forced OT in the Garden. That's pretty good. Like, I would be pretty pumped about that. And I saw a lot of stuff like, oh, this means the Pacers are done. They needed to win game one. I don't think they needed to win game one, Rob. Like, that was a close enough game where I think you proved to yourselves that this can be a series. And even if they go down 2-0, look, they were down 2-0 to the Knicks, and that ended up not being an issue for them. They ended up getting 2 back in Cambridge. Like, they could do that against the Celtics. I don't think it's that bad they lost game one. I don't think it's that bad that they'll lose game two either. They're playing with house money, and Boston has all the pressure on the world on them. They have everything on, where Pacers have a bunch of free bets. BetMGM has a Wheel of Fortune thing going on right now, and they just keep doing the Wheel of Fortune and getting free bets and hitting. That's a Pacers right now. So they're playing with just house money.
I mean, I agree, right? And this is what we said back in hour one of the show. I agree with that. It is house money. Indiana has no pressure on them. Anything that they get from this point forward is just more icing on the cake. But damn it, you still want to win the series if you can. And this is not something like, now you are in the Eastern Conference Finals. And not only were you in it, but you were in it in a game one at the Garden against the 1 seed. And you did not lose because the Celtics did anything special. You lost because you had the ball with a 3-point lead with 10 seconds left to go, and you just made a dumbass decision, and it cost you the game. And here's the other side of that coin. The Celtics have been off for a week and a half because they put Cleveland away last, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it was. They've been off for a week and a half. To me, it was imperative for the Pacers to get game one because now the Celtics are back in their flow. Now they've played a game. Now they can knock the ring rust off and play, and they're back in a rhythm. Game two is harder to win than game one, and the Pacers had it in the bag to steal home court. It's just a big disappointment to me.
No, you're exactly right. It's a big disappointment, and I think the worry is that this game one victory by the Celtics is followed up by a game two stomping, right? Like, they could come in like a pretty pissed off. They could make some good adjustments, and at some point, the Pacers are going to be tired. Like, they just are. It's just how it works. You know, like, you get tired. You're playing a lot of games right now. It's been a long season. They're going to get tired. They're going to be in the Garden, which is a very hard place to play. Wasn't very live last night, though, which I thought was a little weird. I don't have the Pacers winning game two. I lean more to them getting stomped, and then hopefully you just come back to Cambridge and that stadium, which is loud, gets nuts, and you kind of ride that energy, and you end up trying to steal 3 and 4, and you force that to a 6 or 7 game series. Right now, I think it's a 6-game series for the Celtics, and the Celtics take it. But I think that a lot comes down to what happens in 3 and 4 rather than 2, because I think 2 is just a wash at this point, man. Like, I just think it's all Celtics.
It's hard to not agree. I went last night. I just had a couple of bets on that game. I did go Pacers plus 9.5. That felt like a layup to me in game one. Like 9.5 was a layup. I am real intrigued to see what the line movement is in a game two. I assume it is probably going to be around the same spread, and I'll probably take Boston the second time around because, like I said, now the thing for me is if you are the Pacers, Porzingis is coming back for game 4. That is the story right now. Even if he does, it is going to take him a little while to get rolling. I think Indy has 3 games and they've got to take 2. And I don't care if it's game 2 and 3, game 2 and 4 with Porzingis back. I don't care if it's 3 and 4, both at home. Whatever combination of the next 3, you cannot get away with letting Boston have more than a 1-game lead at any point in this series, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, I do agree with that. At the same time, though, like let's say Boston in the next 3 takes 2 of the 3. Do they even bring back KP? Like, do you even bring him back? Like, why not just set him out at that point?
I think I would bring him back if I ended up with a 3-1 lead, right?
Okay.
If it's 3-1 in game 5, I'll bring him back because I'd like to give him a chance to knock that ringer. I don't want to take him into the finals cold, right? Like if we're going to beat Indy and go to the finals, I want him warmed up. If it is, let's say game 2 is as close as game 1, right? If it comes down to be another overtime game or a last second shot or whatever, then it's going to depend on what happens in game 3, right? If we're up 2-0, yes, I'm bringing it back. If Indy wins game 2 and it's 1-1, or we go back into game 4 and it's 2 games apiece, or hell, even 2-1 Boston, I might let him sit one more because this is a weird sentence. Al Horford wasn't terrible last night. And I don't think people understood. The Pacers were attacking Al Horford. The entire offense was designed to create a mismatch around Al Horford. Nobody else. They were staying away from Holiday. They were staying away. They wanted to get a guard or a forward on Horford and take advantage. And that does concern me if I'm Boston. But Al Horford held his own and put you 15 through the bucket too. I might let him sit just a little bit longer until we get to where we've dominated the series, and then we'll ring Russ knockoff there.
Yeah, I completely agree. Horford was amazing last night. He was, especially in that first half, I think he was a huge part of the Celtics' success. And like you said, he was getting hunted by the Pacers. And, he pulled through, and that's what vets do in that situation. That's what playoff vets do in that situation. And, their bench kind of got routed by the Pacers bench. So, their 5 needed to be the best 5 out there on the floor, and they ended up being that. I think with the KP thing, too, where, if you get past the Pacers, either if you face the Mavs or you face the Wolves, the big men on those guys are not guys you just want to come back and play against, right? You want to come back and play against Gafford and Lively the way they've been playing right now? I wouldn't think so. You want to come back and then play against Gobert, Cat, and Naz Reid? I am all set there, boss. No, you need a little warm up before you kind of go in there and get into that dogfight, because whatever Turner and Smith are bringing you right now, that is nothing compared to what's on the other side of the bracket. That's going to be in their way to win the title.
All right, let's talk about the other side of the bracket. We got game 1 tonight. Timberwolves hosting the Mavericks in this one. And on one hand, Mario, this almost feels more lopsided of a series than Boston Indy does to me. It just feels like the Timberwolves should dominate in the series. But I've also been doubting Luka the entire playoffs, game by game, and he has shoved it back in my face over and over. So tell me how Dallas stays neck and neck with Minnesota to steal this series.
They do what they do. They did what they did in the last series, where in the Thunder, they kind of dominated the paint every single game. They dominated the rebounding. They dominated the core part of the floor every single game. And then they got their best from the 2 top guys, and their defense was pretty damn good, especially for Maverick standards. That's how they beat the Wolves, is they have to dominate the paint, and then they have to out-rebound them in every single game. They have to. And on the nights where Anthony Edwards is not it, you got to make sure Luka and Kyrie are it. And I think the other factor that goes into that is how healthy is Conley, and can Conley play the full series? The games that Conley's not there, you really got to take advantage of it, and you really got to rattle that team, because then that offense is purely led through Edwards. While Edwards is a top 5 player in the league, he's still very, very young, and he's not point guard oriented. So you got to make sure you take care of that. On the flip side of that, it's hard to dominate the paint against a defensive player of the year, against a cat who looks rejuvenated on the defense side of the floor, and the sixth man of the year that's one of the best defenders in the league. It's going to be very, very hard to do that. So for that reason, I think this is a Timberwolves in 6.
I am leaning that direction as well. In fact, I was very tempted to look at Timberwolves in 5, but I do think, again, like the question for me, Alonzo's been on this horse throughout the playoffs, and he's been right. There's these spots where Kyrie shows up and he gives you 22. And if he gives you 22 on a night, Luka threatens or achieves the triple-double, I really think the Mavs can beat anybody in that spot. I mean, I do think the second thing that I really love, and this is where I do think it gets interesting. The Mavs have put together a 1-2 punch in terms of rim protection that I think is very, very difficult to replicate, because they got Daniel Gafford as a starter, who is maybe the most boring yet wildly efficient offensive big man in the league. And then they got Derek Lively. And how much of a pickup has that man been for the Mavs? Because they just, hey, Gafford, I need 4 minutes of just all-out gutsy play, and then I'm going to bench you, and I'm going to play Lively for 4 minutes, and then we're going to rotate every 4 minutes. And then in the last 10, whoever's having the better night, they're going to stay in there. But they're both rim protectors. They're both efficient with the basketball. And while everybody's talked about Luka, obviously, Kyrie showing up game by game, PJ Washington leaves Charlotte and decides suddenly he wants to be a clutch player. That's all well and good. But the fact that getting buckets inside of 5 feet with either Gafford or Lively, and both of them well-rested because they're only playing in 4-minute spurts, that's what's made the Mavericks dangerous in this playoffs, and it's like the one thing nobody's talking about.
No one is talking about it. And remember when, I'm old enough to remember when the Mavs got a lot of crap for taking Lively. I was like, guys, I think this is a really great pick. Like, that guy made sure no one in UNC touched the inside of the paint every time they played him. No one's talking about it, but I think the other thing that just like pushed back on that is Lively's still very, very young. And who says that Rudy Gobert and Kat and even Azri can't do the little rookie tricks to kind of get him on foul trouble, try to get him off the floor and have Gafford play more minutes? Who knows, like, if that could happen, like, that'd be definitely something if I was the Timberwolves I'd try to attack and try to do. I think the other bright thing about the Timberwolves too, and if you're listening to this and you're just better be aware of this. The Timberwolves right now are the 11th ranked first half offense in the playoffs. They're also the second best second half offense in the NBA. Whenever the Wolves are down, just be smart. And at halftime, hammer the living hell out of the Wolves money line, because they come back and they win these games. So that's just something to keep in mind, and something that's kind of separated them from everyone else so far this year. I don't know why, Rob, but I've never been more confident in the Wolves right now. Like, this series, I'm extremely confident that they kind of pull through. I think a Luka falter is coming. And I just think also Kid's going to get outcoached at one point. And Chris Finch is the better coach.
I could see the coaching lean towards Minnesota. I could see the interior offense. And honestly, like, between Lively and Gafford, I think they match up relatively well, with Gobert being by himself as an interior defender. So there are a lot of things I really do like for the Mavericks, but I'm with you. I think this is the Timberwolves series. He is the executive producer of Bet for the Cycle with myself and Cody Decker every Saturday from noon to 4 on the BetQL Network and fine Odyssey stations everywhere. He is also an NBA analyst for the BetQL Network, who joins us every single Wednesday to talk shooty hoops. We'll do it again next week as we are closer to the end of the conference finals. He is Mario Heron, a.k.a. Hating Ass Mario. Appreciate you, big fella.
Thank you, as always. Remember, love Indiana, hate Boston.
Stephen A. Smith's frowning somewhere right now. See you next week, big dog. There you go.
See you, Rob.
That is Mario Heron from the BetQL Network. We have to run to a break. When we come back here in just a minute, we talked about the Feinbaum comments earlier. There was one that I think slipped the radar. There was one that I find very interesting, and it is a huge deal when it comes to Clemson as a school in its entirety. And I'll tell you what that is when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, quick live read, and we're back. Stay right there for me. BRB. point that if you missed this segment, it was the second segment of the last hour or last segment. I don't know. It was in the last hour. Go back to thefanupstate.com, pull the third hour, second hour. It was the second hour.
All right. It was the third segment of hour
number two. All right. So go back and pull the third segment of hour number 2. You can hear it. Basically what I said was,
you could use the rewind app.
You sure
can.
can.
Go back and you can push it's labeled Dabo. Go back and hit the Dabo button or the Labo button. Either will work.
Dabo.
Dabo.
On the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Absolutely go do that and listen to the show on demand at your leisure. So the point that I was making was not only have I been saying these things since last offseason, Josh Pate has been saying them since last offseason, and Paul has been saying them since last offseason. It's not new criticism, okay? It's not new criticism. And as of right now, it's the biggest thing to talk about with the football team. I went off and said, hey, look, I'm not talking about it again until the end of next season. Why? Because there is nothing new to say. It is just running the same circle over and over. And the people who feel like they are going to defend Dabo are going to defend Dabo to the end. And the people that feel like they need to attack Dabo are going to attack Dabo to the end. And nothing matters until we have it proven if the philosophy pays off or not at the end of this football season. But to his credit, or absolutely not, there was something else that Paul said that actually is a bigger deal, shockingly, I know, than how Dabo's thought process impacts the football season. It's how it impacts the school.
I think they're already less attractive, Greg, because Clemson, if you go back to 2016, 2017, 2018, I mean, they were at the epicenter. We all joked about how boring it is that Alabama and Clemson play each other every year. Nobody's saying that anymore. And they weren't that big of a name until then. Clemson's always been a good football school, but it's never been a main attraction like in Alabama or Georgia or Texas or Michigan or Ohio State. And now they've fallen off of that. And I think their biggest concerns are even within their own league. We know Florida State has pulled ahead of them. There are other schools that could do that as well. Miami is one you just have to wonder. If they get it right under Mario Cristobal, then that's another school that could inch ahead of them. And as you start divvying up the schools, I mean, we've already had this conversation about, you know, who's most attractive in the ACC, and you know, North Carolina is more attractive to them. Arguably, Florida State would be, but that's simply dependent upon whether you have the stomach for what they've been doing the last 2 years. And Clemson's has one toe in the water on that as well, so that immediately makes them less attractive. And again, it's about brand matchups, Greg. You're at the biggest games of the week. You know what I'm talking about more than anyone. It's not so much geography, because I think we've almost moved past that in college football with the era that we're in.
So Paul is saying that at a point in time where Florida State, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, at the least, are looking to get out of the ACC. And let's call it what it is. The only reason they're looking to get out of the ACC is to do what? Join the Big Ten of the Southeastern Conference, because that's where the money is. And he who hath the gold maketh the rules. That's the real golden rule. At a point in time where they are trying to get out and move on, Paul says that the longer whatever is happening at Clemson, the less attractive that they become. He says they may already be less attractive than Florida State, and that if Miami gets it right with Mario Cristobal, if Miami can figure out, and again, it kind of felt like they've gotten closer. I'm going to say closer to getting it right. If Miami gets it right and they find themselves competing for a playoff position, they become less attractive than Miami. In fact, he goes on to say that he thinks they might end up being less attractive than North Carolina. And keep in mind, this is not just about the football players on a football field. This is about the brand. This is about the brand. It is about the brand power. It used to be, and I'm even guilty of this, we kind of leaned on, well, the Big Ten would want to plant their flag here, and the SEC would want to plant their flag there, and you want to be in this TV market and that TV market. And those things aren't necessarily untrue. But it does kind of matter less than it used to. It kind of matters less because TV markets aren't really limited to just the TV signals that cover that market anymore, especially when you're talking Big Ten SEC, especially when you're talking about the consistent and continued rise of those who only stream and the folks that are creating these conference networks, of which the SEC and the Big Ten net are going to be monstrous once the expansion is all said and done. So he's basically saying what matters is the brand more than the geography. I've said in the past, like, I don't know how attractive Clemson is to the Southeastern Conference, because does it help the SEC to plant a flag 2 hours away from Columbia and 2 hours away from Athens? You're splitting what is already a split market even further. Does that help them? Well, it doesn't under the old model. But if you think that branding is more important than television market size and ownership, then yeah, Clemson's a huge brand. They're a huge brand now. If they are going to continue to slide backwards, and again, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. If they're going to continue to slide backwards, that brand power goes away. And if that brand power goes away, you may or may not be likely to catch an invite from the Big Ten or the SEC. And if you don't, that means Clemson ends up where? The Big 12. And if they end up in the Big 12, that is tens of millions of dollars off the table whenever they jump over. So what Paul is saying here, and again, I'm going to be straight up. Ordinarily, I am pretty good at being able to distinguish when someone is giving a hot take intended to antagonize, or somebody actually had a good thought. I'm stuck in the middle on this one. Because on one hand, I know that Paul Feinbaum, for like the better part of a year and a half now, has been making a run and antagonizing Clemson. And I know that because he makes a run and antagonizes everybody that's not in the SEC. That's his shtick. That's his thing. He's busted Ohio State. He's busted. Remember the Michigan thing? Remember last year, all the way through the season, when Paul kept saying, oh, if Michigan, no, they don't deserve to go because of the cheating thing. And then Michigan got the invite. And then what did Paul, employee of ESPN, start doing? Water under the bridge. Everybody does it. Not a big deal. And go blue. But up until the point that they were in, Paul was out there going, they should not be in. They don't deserve to be in. They cheated. They're this, that. He roughs up everybody that's not in his SEC. The reason he's rich and famous. And fine. I don't hate the player. I hate the game. So I don't know if this is intended to antagonize and rile up the Clemson fans, A, or B, if this is legitimate thought. Because he kind of has a point. If Clemson is not on top of the mountain, what's the brand power? Unless Brad's going to take you to a handful of Final Fours over the next 4 or 5 years, if your football team goes back to stinking, you have no brand power.
Well, they're orange. There's that.
I mean,
not many other teams can say that.
Tennessee would like to disagree in the SEC. Do you feel me? That was pretty good. I'm pretty good at that. Let's take a break. We'll come back. One segment left of the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Clemson fans have been in a blood feud with Paul for a decade. I know. Everybody who's not SEC has been in a blood feud with Paul for years.
He only goes after fan bases that are easily baited.
No, I think it's everybody who's not SEC. If you ain't SEC, it don't mean nothing.
I disagree with Rob. Rob is wrong. He goes after people and fan bases that are easily baited, like Clemson fans.
Oh!
The Cubs beat the Braves 4-3. Nico Horner hit a game-ending infield single in the 10th. It was Atlanta's fifth loss in 6 games. Orlando Arcia hit a 2-run homer. Charlie Morton struck out 8 over 5 solid innings.
Hey, Moles, tell Rob that he's a wonderful person who needs a hug.
As the nation's leader in using orthobiologics to deal with joint pain, QC Kinetics has treated tens of thousands of patients.
For many of them, that treatment comes with a plan to lose weight, as we know that keeping a healthy weight puts less strain on your joints.
So now to help patients lose weight in the fastest and most effective way, QC Kinetics is excited to offer newly approved injectables for those who qualify.
If your weight is keeping you from living your best life, call QC Kinetics now and learn more about these next-generation weight loss options, including semaglutide, tirzepatide.
Even if you're just looking to look better and feel better by getting back to your ideal weight, call the medical...
He echoed in the echo.
Yeah, I got it. That's I was laughing. I thought it was funny.
QC is making these amazing options.
It's okay. I get it, Wesley.
And it starts with a free consultation.
Call 833-QCK-SLIM to get...
Sensitive.
I'm also sensitive to light and loud noises right now. So, yes, I get
Terrible
it.
show to work on for that.
Yeah, I know. I don't have that click thing on your headphones, but mine still cancel pretty well. So. It's because my head's so big and they're clamped so hard on my little ears. He does. Exactly.
Somebody just fantasy booked me into something that I want to see. Deadpool and Wolverine drops a week before SummerSlam. Hugh Jackman's already been in a ring before. I want a Wolverine Deadpool actor tag team for no reason. Just let him do like one short match. In costume.
That man's a lot older than people think.
Hugh Jackman?
Yes.
How old is Hugh Jackman? Hugh Jackman is 55. Oh, God, I'm screwed, dude. I'm just screwed. Hugh Jackman looks younger than me.
No, the one person who's really screwed is me, who is the same age as Hugh Jackman. So,
Hugh Jackman.
He had to do a lot of work to get that way. He'll go back to his Broadway bod after this is over, though. So
His Broadway bod is better than me in every way.
It's more geared to dancing and singing, not to clawing, though.
The Rob Brown Show continues, wrapping up here our Thursday edition of the show. Texter said, Rob, let me go find the second half of it. Rob, I texted yesterday about this. In my opinion, because of Dabo's stance and use of NIL in the transfer portal, if this season isn't ACC championship and second rounder further in the college football playoffs, he should be in the hot seat, especially if the teams using NIL and transfer portal differently beat Clemson, because other conferences are watching. That's from Spartanburg Jay. So Jay, and he sent me that text before we did that segment, hit on exactly where I was going.
Yeah, but I agree with him except for one thing. You don't have to win the ACC to make it into the playoffs. You just got to be undefeated and lose to the ACC champion.
That is correct. Honestly, I think you could probably have a regular season loss make it to the ACC championship. Now, it's going to be harder this year because we don't have divisions anymore. Now it's pool play. Now it's pretty much open. So it is going to be tougher to do that. Like, more than likely, more often than not, the two teams in the ACC championship game will be conference undefeated. So I think here, I think the attitude of you don't have to win the conference, you just got to get into the playoffs is something that is going to fly with SEC teams, Big Ten teams, maybe Big 12 teams. I don't think that is necessarily going to fly as much in the ACC, because while I do think the ACC has gotten better, you're fooling yourself if you think it's up there in contention with the two big conferences. It's not even close.
It doesn't have to fly in the conference. It just has to fly at Clemson.
That's also true. And this is, again, one of the things that I have talked about a number of times leading up to this is, at the end of the day, my opinion is irrelevant. Lonzo's opinion is irrelevant. Diesel's opinion is irrelevant. Cole's opinion is irrelevant. Bill Ryder's opinion is irrelevant. Jim Rome's opinion is irrelevant. Trista Crick's, Ryan Ashush, Ryan Horvat, Nick Ashush, all of the opinions of people who talk on these radio waves are irrelevant. The only opinions that matter are the fan base of the Clemson Tigers and the administration of the Clemson Tigers. Here's what I will tell you. If it just comes down to what the fan base thinks, what the fan base wants, what the fan base likes, where the fan base is willing to spend and not to spend money, then do whatever you want. I really think the only thing that becomes a genuine, legitimate threat to Dabo is if it does indeed get to a point where the reports start coming out that the SEC and the Big Ten are less interested in Clemson because of the struggles. That's honestly the biggest threat to Dabo Swinney. If the SEC and the Big Ten lose interest in the Clemson brand because they look over and they go, yo, they're in the ACC, they are losing 3 or 4 games annually, and they are not involved in talent acquisition via the portal, and again, I think you got to let them off the hook for the NIL stuff, because Clemson is doing as much, if not more, for their NIL athletes than anybody else. The only difference is I got Billy Napier out here risking his job to get $1 million for a quarterback, whereas Dabo's kind of like, meh, on the whole thing.
See, I don't think it makes them less attractive. I think it comes down to, if you're the Big Ten or the SEC, whichever decides to take a couple teams first, you're going to have to take whoever to keep up with them. So let's say the SEC takes Florida State. The Big Ten has to try to go after Clemson because that's the biggest name left in the ACC.
Again,
whether they're good or not, they're still the biggest name.
I think that there is a risk. There is a world that exists in which the brand, keep in mind, this is where I think a lot of people kind of lose, or where I think some people lose the thread a little bit. You are not just inviting a school because they are a good football program. You're inviting a school because you believe you can sell the brand. That's why you invite the school, because the brand makes your league more attractive. And it is not just football. We are also talking about basketball and baseball and all the other things that come along for the ride. There is a world that exists where Miami is a bigger brand than Clemson. That world exists. In fact, that world was reality up until Dabo took over at Clemson. Miami was the bigger brand and the more profitable program. Then there's a world that exists where North Carolina is a bigger brand. Not because they're a better football team. Not at all because they're a better football team. They're a bigger brand because of all the assets that come along with them. The Jumpman logo, which is a North Carolina thing more than it's anybody else's. Yeah, I know Nike is on board with Oregon, but Jordan's on board with Carolina. That's a big boost to the brand. The basketball program, which even when they're bad, they're still real good. They were not a great team this year, and yet still were alive into the Elite Eight, into the Final Four. So it is a matter of the brand, not the team. And I think and it's understandable, I think we have a bit of a habit of only looking at these stories through the lens of a football fan. This is why I hammer. I know it aggravates a lot of you. This is why I hammer home that you have to look at this as a business, not as a football team. You cannot I'm talking down to your own athletic department. I'm not just talking about Saturdays in the fall. I'm talking about down to your athletic department. You have to look at it as a business. And circling back around to where we were. This is why I've said, what's the most dangerous thing to Dabo Swinney's job right now? The most dangerous thing to Dabo Swinney's job right now is, not would be, is if the team continues to lose 3 or 4 games a year or worse, but if the team continues to lose down the line and they fall backwards, if they fall backwards in the brand value behind Florida State, I'm not ready to say they have yet, but if they do, if Florida State comes out next year and let's say they go 13-0 when they win the ACC again, and they represent the ACC as one of the 4 buys in round number 1, then I would say you have. You're dangerously close. You are on the precipice of falling backwards. If you fall backwards behind Florida State, that's one thing. If you fall backwards behind Florida State and Miami in brand value, if you fall backwards between Florida State, Miami, and North Carolina in brand value, if you fall backwards between Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, and Duke in brand value, which if you are losing more football games than you have over the past 3 years, you could and you would and you will, that's where you get in trouble. You get in trouble at that point because now only the Big 12 wants you. Now only the Big 12 wants you. And if the Big 12 wants you, but Florida State goes to the Big 10, and North Carolina goes to the SEC, and Miami goes to the SEC, and Duke goes to the Big 10, or however they get split up, and you get relegated down to the Big 12 because that's a demotion, right? We all agree? The Big 12 is behind the SEC and the Big 10. If you get sent backwards into that conference, all of those schools that just left you behind will be making a lot more money. And they still surround you. This is all stuff that's going to put fingers into the recruiting and into the television market and into your ability to make money away from the football team. If you put all of this together by getting relegated, if that is what happens, and again, I think this is a stretch of an idea. I think it's a stretch of an idea, though it is not the most likely outcome. I think it's a stretch of the idea, not the most likely outcome. But it is obviously a thought that people are having. It is a thought that people have started to kick around. And if that is the direction that this goes, that's the biggest threat to Dabo. Not Graham Neff, not the transfer portal, not angry fans, none of that. If it gets to the point where the Clemson athletic department looks and goes, because of Dabo's philosophy, we are going to lose tens of millions of dollars a year, that's when they'll make the switch. That's when they'll jump over. All of that being said, I can't promise this, but I'm going to do my best. I don't want to talk about Dabo in the portal again until the end of the football season. They may come up. I may not have a choice, but I don't want to talk about it again until the football season's over and his philosophy either succeeds or fails.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
Time for a Dabo free What the X. I can guarantee that. The first thing that's Xing is World Goth Day.
World Goth Day. I'd like to wish Rhea Ripley a happy World Goth Day. Did you see what Buddy Matthews did on Twitter? The absolute flex that he dropped.
No, she's fake goth though. She's not really goth.
No, she really is.
No,
and IRL, as the kids say. You'll appreciate this more than that though. Buddy Matthews dropped the flex on the internet. He knows all the jokes about Buddy watching Rhea with all these. Buddy yesterday dropped a tweet of him and Rhea on the beach where he is laid down on the sand with his head on Rhea's bum, and it's just Rhea's butt and his head laid on top of it. It's the biggest flex I've ever seen anybody drop on Twitter. It was unbelievable.
All right, let's talk about real goths. If there's a goth around you, give them a hug. They appreciate it.
Give Alonzo a hug.
No, don't do that.
Hugs.
All right, the next thing that is Xing is Terrence Howard.
All right, so I actually know why this is trending. It's because Terrence Howard went on the biggest platform for lunatics to say dumb things, the Joe Rogan Experience. And when he went on Joe Rogan, he started going on this wild thing about, well, if you look at the real periodic table of the elements, if you put the frequency of this element and that element and the light waves and you cross them over and then you start to see the real. Shut up. You're saying dumb things for no reason at all. You lost the chance to be roadie, and now you're just making an idiot out of yourself.
Well, he's one of the biggest and most watched podcasts that exist. I want to go watch it because I'm interested to see how
it's real dumb.
Yeah, but
it's real. It's a real dumb group of statements.
Well, as not a science nerd like you and one of the real dumb people, I probably might enjoy it. So I mean,
you might, but nothing he says is true or real. It's all very dumb things.
I, like most people, just want to be entertained. The next thing that's Xing is the McGriddle.
The McGriddle is trending. I want you to know this is true. I've actually never had a McGriddle.
What?
I've never had a McGriddle.
Well, you're not going to get one now, but I.
Why? Because they're going away?
No, because you're on a diet.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
What is a McGriddle?
It's the most amazing breakfast sandwich ever created.
So it's a breakfast sandwich. What is it like? It's like egg,
James,
cheese, and bacon between two pancake buns.
Yes, James is with me. What? I mean, it's shocking. It really is.
I mean, it looks delicious.
It absolutely is.
Okay.
It's just got the right amount of syrup built into to the patties, which if you have sausage with pancakes, it makes pancakes better. So you put that on there, throw your egg in there. It's wonderful.
I mean, you know what I do make sometimes is I make pancakes, but I pour the batter over sausage and bacon. So the sausage and bacon are cooked into the pancake. It just kind of looks like that with more steps.
It is. And it holds together better than some other sandwiches. Well, you wouldn't think it would.
I'll have to give it a run, man.
May have to do with the cheese. And finally, the CW is trending.
For the first, I actually don't know why the CW would be trending here. I'm gonna go with they've just picked. Oh wait, something's moving over there? Is it one of the AW shows? Is it WWE? Is it NXT? Something's moving over there.
I believe NXT is going there, but that's not why it's Xing. It's Xing because Walker, Texas Ranger, has been canceled.
We be canceled. It's been over for 100 years.
The remake's been going for like 4 or 5 years with Jared Padalecki. And no, I've never watched an episode, but it was trending, so I put it on there.
Let me tell you what's happened. I would have given that show a shot. I'd have given it a shot, except for that I remembered that I can go online and just stream Walker, Texas Ranger. And if you don't think I'm not going to go back and stream Walker, Texas Ranger, I don't know what to tell you.
This is an old man take. Why would I want to watch the new one when I can go back and watch the original?
It is more along the lines of the original was flawless. It was flawless.
James says you need to make that 30-minute trip on Woodruff Road to McDonald's.
I actually passed one on the way home, and it's going to be everything in my power. Not wait, they don't do breakfast this late, so I'm good. I'm safe.
Yeah, they'll do it till
I'm in this building
10:30 or 11.
Yeah, I'm in this building for the entire McDonald's breakfast run, so I can't have it.
Mm-hmm. Today you will be.
Because that's where the Rangers gonna be. See you guys tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate later. Yeah.
This man has never had a McGriddle.
Never had a McGriddle. If this is a McGriddle commercial, I'm going to lose my mind.
I think it's McMuffin. It's a McMuffin.
So a McGriddle is a McMuffin just with pancake buns, right?
that what I'm led to understand?
Well, I mean, if you want to look at a makeup, yes, but taste is it's not comparable. The McGriddle is so much better.
Okay.
I'm okay with the bacon one, but the sausage one is the best one. You prefer bacon with your pancakes or sausage?
I mean, I prefer sausage with everything. So if there's a sausage McGriddle, that's the way I'm going. However, I do love some bacon. Bacon makes everything better. Sausage doesn't make everything better. Bacon does. But on the hierarchy of breakfast meats, a good sausage goes above bacon. It's like good sausage, bacon, the rest of sausage.
Good sausage is sausage with a little bit of a kick?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit of a kick, high quality, just enough fat to cook right, but like not overwhelming. That's kind of the direction I go with the sausage. All right, y'all, we got a jet. But which bacon? Floppy bacon. Floppy bacon's the only correct answer. I don't want to bite into bacon and have it cut into 1,000 shards and then slice my mouth open.
That's not true.
Team floppy bacon is the way to go.
Nope.
Always has been, always will be.
Nope.
Y'all have a lovely rest of your Wednesday. I hope you enjoy some floppy bacon for breakfast tomorrow. Come back and join us again on the Floppy Bacon Sports Show in the Fan Upstate. Have a good day. Goodbye.